pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My name is Pete Davis. I'm the chairman of the Clay County Planning Commission. Minutes tonight meeting will be taken by Christine Blanchette, recording secretary from clerk of the court's office. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Other staff members present, we have Beth Carson, who's the planning director. We have Dodie Seelig, who is the chief planner in the planning department. We also have Courtney Grimm, who is our county attorney. We have Caleb Reisinger. He is from the real estate and land conservation area. I don't see any others. Oh, we got Kelly Henry, who's from economic development. We thank Deputies Butler and Deputies Eck, who are from the Clay County Sheriff's Department here. They will help us maintain order. My fellow commissioners are, on my right is Commissioner Bo Norton, Commissioner Ralph Puckhaber, Commissioner Mary Bridgman, and on my left is Michael Beret, Joe Anzalon, Bill Garrison, and our school board representative is Paul Behemoth. The Clay County Planning Commission is a citizens advisory board to the Clay County Board of County Commissioners, or the BCC as it's referred to. Most of the decisions made by the Planning Commission are recommendations to the BCC. Normally, the BCC will have a final say at their meeting on either the second Tuesday or 1 week from today, or the fourth Tuesday 3 weeks from today. However, because of Veterans Day, the BCC meeting for the 11th will be on Monday the 10th because of the holiday. The BCC meeting starts at 4, zoning and land use matters starting at 5. Please check the BCC calendar for these items on the Clay County website. If there's an item on tonight's agenda, if you wish to speak about, please fill out one of the comment cards. That's these little white cards here, and which can be found. They're also in the vestibule out there, and give it to Ms. Blanchette. At this time, please put your cell phones on silent or vibrate. If you need to take a call during the meeting, please step outside. If you need to leave the meeting during while it's going on, please do so quietly. For item of action by the commission tonight is the first item of that tonight is approval of the minutes of the October 7th meeting of the Planning Commission. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, open public comment. The open public comment is a comment period for any member of the public that want to comment on items not included on tonight's agenda but pertinent to the business of the Planning Commission. I don't have any cards for this. Does anybody wish to speak at the first open comment period on anything pertaining to the Planning Commission? I'll open that, and I see none, so I'll close the public comment period. We always welcome the public to the Planning Commission meetings, as citizens participate in the backbone of our democratic form of government. Your presence here is important and appreciated. All planning commissioners are volunteers, residents of Clay County, appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. We serve 2-year terms and must reapply if we wish to continue to serve. The Commission's duties are outlined in Section 163 of the Florida statutes. We hear applications for comprehensive plan amendments, land development code changes, and rezonings. The Commission's decisions are advisory to the BCC. The process for the meeting will be each item on the public hearing agenda will be presented by a member of the Planning and Zoning Department. Tonight is Ms. Dodie Seelig. As part of the presentation, staff will indicate whether they recommend approval of the requested land use, zoning, or land development code change. Next, the applicant will have an opportunity to speak. Following the applicant's presentation, I will open the floor for members of the public to offer their views. If you wish to speak during this hearing, Please fill out one of the comment cards, give it to Ms. Blanchett, and take the oath which Ms. Blanchett will administer momentarily. If you aren't sure whether you wish to speak, go ahead and take the oath. Your speaking time will be limited to 3 minutes. The lights on the podium will help you keep track of the time. Your time for this is stating your views, not asking questions of the applicant, members of the staff, or commissioners. Your comments are to be directed to the Planning Commission. After staff, the applicant, and the public have all had their chance to state their views, the floor will be closed for public comments, and the applicant will have the opportunity to respond to comments by the public. At that time, the commissioners will discuss the matter if necessary and render a decision. Again, I thank you and commend you for your participation in this process. Before we begin the hearing, Ms. Blanchett will swear in anyone who wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to the application. Ms. Blanchett?
You all stand and move to the center of the room, please. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you all.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is PUD 25008 in Commissioner Burke's district.
Good evening. This item will be heard at the November 10th Board of County Commissioners hearing. The applicant is Larmac Development LLC. The property is on the east side of Henley Road, the northeast corner of County Road 218. As you said, that's in the Lake Asbury Penny Farms district, which is Commissioner Burke's District 5. The application would change the zoning from planned unit development and Lake Asbury Rural Fringe to planned unit development. The property was mailed, notices were mailed to every parcel there that's kind of highlighted in blue. Those are the abutter letters, and then the property itself was posted with signage. There are 3 parcels, actually one full parcel, 3.1 acres, and then a portion of an additional parcel that are owned by Larmac. And those are in the blue box on the left. And then the third piece is a 0.196 acre piece that's in the green triangle on the right. And that is actually currently owned by Clay County. It is a portion of the stormwater facility pond. And that's upper bank that's level. The applicant is including it in their application on the anticipation that the County Board of County Commissioners will be willing to sell them that piece so that they can have access from 218. So here on the left is the aerial of that area, and then on the right we have the outline of the property. On the left is the existing zoning, and then on the right is the proposed zoning. It doesn't look like it's a huge change. It looks like only the county piece changes, but the PUD, although it goes from PUD to PUD, the details of that PUD change for those who aren't familiar with our zoning laws. And this is the exhibit that is attached to the ordinance of the PUD showing, you can see in the gray area closest to 218, that's the canopy area for gasoline sale pumps, and then you have a convenience store, and then there's a future parcel on the right, so the property would actually be split in half ultimately. And it would have access on Henley and then on 218, as I said. I'm sorry, did you need me to go back? You were, just for a second, sure. Should be the very last page. Okay. Pause till you're, yeah, just let me know when you're,
County Road 218 at the right in and right out.
yes, yes, that would be limited because it's on a curve and close to the intersection. And then the Henley access would be both ways.
Is this all commercial?
Yes. Yeah. So the allowed uses, under the existing PUD, it spelled out a convenience store, and retail, commercial, office space, and gas sales as allowed uses. Also, other uses that could be anticipated in the PUD would be anything in the BB3 zoning district. The convenience store was limited to 4,000 square feet. The commercial space is at 16,800, and there were only ultimately 8 pumps, so 4 paired gas station pumps. What's proposed is a lessening of those allowed uses to BA district uses, which are more retail-centric types of uses. The building square footage would increase from 4,000 to 5,200 square feet. There would be no change to the square footage on retail and commercial, but the number of gas pumps would increase from 8 to 16. And then in addition, possible uses could include a car wash use, a restaurant, potentially an retail auto part sales, and daycare. The PUD currently has a 40-foot setback from Henley Road and a 25-foot setback on both the north and south sides. So there's wetlands to the north, and then there's, of course, 218 to the south. Those are not proposed to be changed. On the east side, there is a 25-foot landscape buffer in the existing PUD that is to be maintained on the park parcel. What is added to the PUD is a proposed 6-foot vinyl fence to be installed on that parcel boundary. Additionally, the PUD specified that the roof of all the buildings had to have pitched roofs. The proposed change would be that the gas pump canopy would be a flat roof. The building facades requirement wouldn't change. The connectivity does change. Originally, there was an alley where would almost be wide enough for vehicle traffic to go from the east side where they have the residential PUD and the park, and I'll show you that a little bit later, but for safety reasons, that's been eliminated, that portion of the connection, but the sidewalk connection is still there and shows on the proposed plan. The Lake Asbury Penny Farm CAC heard this item on October 9th. They voted 10-0 to recommend approval of the item with an inclusion of a fence or other separation on the east side of the residential park. I think not knowing that that was already in the PUD. And staff has gone through the criteria for the rezoning and recommends approval of the item.
Are there any questions of staff? Commissioner Bray?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a clarity, just for clarification, so on the east side parcel, is it the 25-foot buffer and the 6-foot fence, or is it in lieu of?
My reading was that it was inclusive of, but we'll let the applicant tell you that
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one
Commissioner?
question. Dodie, can you go back a couple of slides? I have to tell you which one. By the way, that's in the ordinance. We found it. It's at the very last
Okay.
page of the
Yep.
ordinance.
Good.
No, but go back. I want to see, I think, the page. Whoop, stop, go forward.
Oh, you mean this?
No, the one I'm looking at has some additional property lines on it, but it's basically that drawing. Because what I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
Go forward to that one, though.
Yeah.
This one right here.
Uh-huh.
A little road that comes in from the side, on the
Yeah.
east side.
Mhm.
It looks like there's something in there. There's a right-of-way that goes all the way to this piece of property. Is that the alleyway you're talking about?
There is a proposed sidewalk to go from there up to,
This looks wide enough to have a street in it, that's why.
Oh.
It's the same picture you have on the right, but it has more
Here's the-
property lines on it. Oh, well, you can see it on there.
You can see there's a
See where
sort of
there's
sidewalk
like
to the
a-
park.
Yeah, there's a little loop there at the end, but then the property, it looks like there's a right-of-way that goes right through to that property.
That was the access, the alley in the PUD, where it was gonna continue on through. But there's, the south piece is kind of ball field park space, open space. And then there's playground park space on the north side, and it's just not considered really a very safe idea when you have this park that where kids would be running back and forth between the, these spaces, to have a road literally going through
Right.
the middle of it.
But is there
So-
right-of-way?
Um,
I'll ask the
it's not public
applicant.
because it's the PUD, so I'm not sure I would call it a,
Okay,
yeah,
I'll ask the
public
applicant.
road, but, yeah.
Any other questions of staff? Applicant, is applicant here? Mr. Miller.
Good evening. My name is Frank Miller. My address is 1 Independent Drive, Suite 2300 in Jacksonville. This PUD that's in place now was adopted in 2004. It had two elements to the PUD. It had the residential portion, and then it had the commercial portion with the boundaries consistent with what we're applying for on our amendment. The residential portion has been built out. No improvements have been made to the commercial portion. The commercial portion, which is all we're really addressing, allowed uses described in BB3. One of the uses allowed in BB3 is a dance hall, strip club, among other kind of intense and not neighborly cooperative kind of activities. And so one of the things that we're doing by this amendment is we're eliminating the intense and negative uses and moving the uses to more of a neighborhood adequate kind of uses, including, and I think we've gone through some of the uses. The only real changes are we've increased the size of the convenience store itself from 4,000 square feet to 5,200 square feet. And the reason for that is the modern style of convenience stores has the larger size. It has more food offerings, and it just basically, that's the current kind of approach to convenience stores. It has more products. It's more than just the old-fashioned 7-Eleven kind of store, not to be demeaning of 7-Eleven. And on the gas pumps, actually, if you read the existing ordinance, it allowed 16 gas pumps, but it provided they had to be in 2 islands. And all of the gas people have found that it's a safer approach to have a single island or a single canopy over 16 islands, or what, so that people just drive through once. You don't have people coming in and going out and coming in and going out. So that's the reasoning for the change to the commercial use for the convenience store, the size and the gas pumps. We retained pretty much the same amount of additional square footage of retail, and specifically included as a use a restaurant with alcohol, which was in the previous one, though it wasn't in a BB3 category. It was kind of set to a side, and at the back it kind of said, and you can have a restaurant with alcohol. So we made it clear we can now have clearly have a restaurant with alcohol served on site. so that the balance of the retail, commercial, and restaurant square footage would be 16,800, and I believe it's slightly more than that in the existing ordinance. Bear with me just a second, and I will tell you for sure. It was basically the same, I'm sorry, it was 16,800, so we haven't changed the additional non-convenience store square footage. Could you put back up the list of your first list of the changes? Except that I can't see it. Oh, okay. As you can see, the existing PUD allowed for the BB3 zonings. We're changing that to essentially the B8 zonings. And the car wash is a use that was allowed in the existing PUD. So we've included that as a use in the amended PUD. The restaurant with alcohol, we're not changing. We're just clarifying that it is definitely allowed. And we've added retail auto parts sales as a use because it's a BB3, not a BBA use, if I'm remembering correctly. And then we've included the only conditional use would be daycare centers, which are conditional uses under a BA zoning district. So kind of to sum, this is, we're cleaning this up. We're bringing it forward. It's over 20 years old. It was never developed. We believe we're making the uses more consistent with a neighborhood use as opposed to some of the BB3 or BB3 uses. And we're not affecting in any way the residential portion of the PUD. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
If I may, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Mr. Miller. Just wanted to see if you could answer my question regarding the buffer on the east side and the fencing.
We are intending to put a 25-foot buffer on the east side of the property and a fence. The fence was something that the CAC thought was a good idea to keep kids from getting into the commercial thing, and we're fine with that. It's just that my expectation is the kids are going to climb over the fence. But nevertheless, yes, there will be a 25-foot buffer and a fence.
Okay, I agree with the CAC, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other questions, applicant?
So, Mr. Miller, I'm actually going to disagree with CAC. I know. But because I'm going to ask the same question, you know, there was a response to why the alleyway wouldn't be there. But this idea of keeping people off the roads, and in this instance, children who might be in this subdivision who want to go to that convenience store, I don't think we really want to put them out on County Road 218 or Henley. Why don't we just extend that sidewalk into there so they can get into that convenience store? And so they're going to go there. As you said, they're going over the fence. It would seem to be it seems very similar argument that we had, I think, last month about Middleburg and the pedestrian access.
Mm-hmm.
I would strongly suggest that you ask your client to think about that.
I think they're willing. They weren't proposing to put a fence there. And as you saw on our proposed site plan, the right side of the property is just open to development, where they'd have to come back to the DRC with a plan to complete that. And what is interesting is can you put up that map again?
Yes,
Yeah.
there is a sidewalk there, yeah.
There is a sidewalk, and we can connect to it or allow the access through. But the reasoning from the CAC was that having a golf cart road along there is a playground equipment up in that area, and and the field is open to play, and there was concern that, people playing on the field would get run over by the golf carts.
I just put it out there as a suggestion because I think in the terms of trying, I think it's kind of amusing. They think a fence is going to keep a kid out. Never kept me out. I don't think it kept anybody out I never knew, I was aware of. But getting an easy way to get to that, because they're going to want to go to that convenience store. They're going to want to go to some of those other shops. And if they could do it without getting out on those two busy roads, I think everybody's is safer. So it is my suggestion that you, and when you go to the BCC, just keep it in mind. So
Certainly will.
Any other questions, the applicant? I've got a couple, Mr. Miller. I kind of agree with Commissioner Beret and also Commissioner Puckhaber. If you do put up a fence, but you allow them to transgress into it, it ought to be through a point to consolidate the access. It would be safer for everybody. Is that area on the north side, is that preserve area or is that for future development?
That's a wetland. It is not going to ever be developed.
Okay. If there's many kids running around, they're going to be playing in that wetlands. I guarantee it. The other question I had was the future commercial part. Is the only access to that going to be on County Road 218, or will they be going through the convenience center over to Henley?
Well, I think the intention would be that they have the same access as the convenience store, so.
So they can move from the right-hand commercial part through the gas station to get to Henley?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to open the public hearing. I do not have any cards for this item. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on this agenda item? I'll open the public hearing. Did you fill out a card?
For the second item, but something he said kind of caught my attention.
Okay.
He was talking about the proposed,
We need your name and address, please.
pretty much everybody know me. I'm Harold Knowles, Knowles Road. He said they proposed a 25-foot area to the side. There's a lot of difference between, well, we're proposing that and we're going to do that. That's a real big difference to me. If they don't do that with that 25-foot, what is that 25-foot going to be? Is my question. And maybe he just used the wrong word and it caught my attention, but when we're doing some planning like this, we need to know exactly what it's gonna be.
Understood. Normally don't answer that, but if it's part of the development order, then it'll be a 25-foot buffer, natural buffer, and if they agreed to a fence, there will also be a fence. Okay, does anybody else wish to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll bring it back to Mr. Miller. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there?
No, sir, not particularly unless someone has a question, and I would confirm your statement. If it's in there, we're bound to do it.
Okay. I'll bring it back to the commissioners for discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the staff report on this.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion approved. Ms. Seeley, agenda item number 2.
This item is actually 2 applications. There's a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, which is Comp 2513, and then there's a rezoning application, which is PUD 25-7. Both items will be, no, I'm sorry, the large-scale comp plan amendment will be heard on December 9th for the Board of County Commissioners meeting. Both items will come back probably sometime in, I'm going to guess, February. The December 9th meeting is a transmittal to the state of the large-scale comp plan amendment. They have 30 days to provide us comments, and then we take it back to the board for a final decision. So a final decision really probably wouldn't be until that later meeting. But for anybody that's interested, I would just wanted to make sure everybody knew that it would be going on December 9th. The applicant is Kimley Horn and Associates. The property is at the southeast corner of County Road 315 and 315A in the Springs District, which is Commissioner Burke's District 5. There are 4 parcels in whole or part that are involved in this application, or pair of applications. And I apologize, the language at the bottom is not accurate. That's a cut and paste error on my part. I am so sorry. I'm going to skip those. All right. So here's our parcel map. The location is in the red hatch. Letters were sent out to all of the green parcels in this case. Their signs were posted on the property at various locations. I gave you the map there as well. The aerial is on the left, and the parcel is all of the yellow hatch area. And again, on the right, it's in red. On the left, we have the existing land use. The yellow is the rural residential, and then the white is agricultural. And on the right is the proposed future land use designation. This is the existing zoning, and it has the same split in zoning districts, the same line. This is the proposed site plan that's actually part of the PUD, not the future land use element, but bringing this in as a part of the PUD application. You can see that there, in the center of the property, there's a portion that is exempted out that's going to be retained by the property owner. I'll let the applicant go through the details of all of the application. They have a presentation for you, but you can see the boundaries and the general layout in here. The PUD would propose 160 single-family lots in the subdivision. Density allowed under the current AR is 1 unit per acre. Under the PUD, it's a maximum of 3 that is allowed. The applicant's proposing 2.48. The max or minimum lot width under AR is 100. The applicant's proposing 60. The front setback would be 30 under AR, but they're proposing 25. Rear setback is 35, and it's proposed at 10. The right-of-way buffer is required at 10 feet, and the proposal is between 20 to 30, depending on which right-of-way. And the recreation and open space requirement is 6.4 acres under AR. The applicant in the PUD is proposing 15 acres. There are additional improvements that are proposed because this is a PUD. And the intent of the PUD is to trade off a reduction in some zoning characteristics for an improvement beyond the minimum zoning requirements. In this case, the applicant is proposing to design and construct a southbound right turn lane on County Road 315. These are for motorists turning west onto Highway 16. And there's a separate exhibit that was included in your packet, and I'll show it to you a little later. The applicant is proposing to deed a 60-foot wide portion across the southern portion of the property to the county for continued use for the road that's known as Nose Road. Part of that, based on the applicant's survey, shows a portion of Nose Road from 315 to Stauffer Road is actually at least partially on the applicant's property. They are proposing visitor parking. That's not required in the code. They're proposing 28 spaces. And the perimeter buffer adjacent from where residential meets residential, they're proposing again, 25 to 30 feet. And this is the right turn lane that would be constructed by the applicant at Highway 16 and 315. The item was heard on October 8th by the Springs CAC. They voted 6-0 to recommend denial of both items. Staff's gone through the criteria for both applications and felt the criteria are met and recommends approval. We did receive, I believe it's 5 letters. I'll just read off the author for those emails. They're all in opposition to the item. I'll pass them around so that you can take a look at them, and then if at the end, I'll collect them and give them to the clerk for the record. We have one from Mr. Don Renshaw. We have Ms. Joseph Carter, Nicole Hayden, Sharon Bernard, and Bill Merriman. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Registering opposition to the item. That I'll answer any questions you have.
Are there any questions of staff?
Mr. Chair, I do have a few, but I'd like to wait till after the public hearing.
Any other questions of staff? The applicant?
Good evening. Mark Shelton, urban planner with Kimley Horn Associates, 12740 Grand Bay Parkway West, Suite 2350, Jacksonville, Florida, 32258. Dodie, do you have the clicker? Got it. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for your patience with us as we go through this project, which is very important to us. We've worked with staff, and I believe that their report is very thorough and very accurate. I'm here today with Garrett Queener with Pulte Homes and Bill Schilling, also with Kimley Horn, our traffic expert. There we go. So here's our team. I'd like to reintroduce a residential project that came before you last year. This one we're calling Pulte 315. And as you may recall from last July, this project requested a land use amendment and rezoning to allow for up to 214 single-family homes. That is changing with this application. I'll get into that in a minute. It was also on 72 acres. That is also changing. In a few moments, you will see how we've reached out and listened to the community and revised this request. As Dodie mentioned, the land use amendment before you is going from rural residential and agricultural to rural fringe. And also the zoning goes from agricultural, residential, and agricultural to planned unit development. Everything in the PUD that's before you is meeting or exceeding the Land Development Code of Clay County. As you know, this is a growing part of Clay County, and this project is located within 1.5 miles of the First Coast Expressway. And as you can see on this exhibit, we're surrounded by mega projects such as Magnolia Point, Magnolia West, Willow Springs, Saratoga Springs, Peters Creek, and Agricola further to the south, making this parcel a prime location for this residential project, not to mention similar density to the east in Green Cove Springs. We withdrew this application last July so that we could have an opportunity to reach out to the community and speak to the neighbors. Pulte Homes conducted this extensive community outreach between March and June of this year. They did this through emails, text messages, phone calls, in-person meetings which culminated in an open house on June 30th. You can see a couple pictures there from our open house at the fairgrounds and a sample letter that we sent to the neighbors there to the right. So as mentioned, the plan has changed. We believe that our new application is much better because it has a reduced density, wider buffers, reduced acreage, smaller ponds, revised phasing, and dedicated turn lanes, along with a constructed right turn on County Road 315 instead of just funding it. Our total project size goes from 72 to 64. Our open space is doubled, more than doubled, from 7 acres to 15 acres. Our active recreation, as you can see, greatly increased from a half acre to over 7 acres. Our density is a reduction of 25%, from up to 214 to a maximum of 160. Our lot widths will now be a minimum of 60 foot wide. Before they were 50s and 60s. We've doubled our buffers in some places and put 30-foot buffers elsewhere, even if they weren't required by the Land Development Code. We've assigned a screening that is typical of uncomplimentary buffers. This is not uncomplimentary. We're still assigning a screening between properties. And as mentioned, we're constructing the turn lane. The results of these changes can be seen in the before and after site plan that you see here. The plan on the left, the old plan, is what I just mentioned. The new plan shows divided ponds, smaller ponds. This was a concern of the neighbors. It shows more park area, a larger retained parcel. That's where the area reduction came from. 60-foot lots, and a reduction in cul-de-sacs, once again, because of comments that we heard. Before handing off the bill to talk a little bit more about traffic and compatibility, I want to mention how this residential project is appropriate and different from the other mega projects around us. We mentioned about the 60-foot lots, which is larger than most of the other developments around us. There's no CDD. We're offering up traffic improvements beyond the $1.2 million in mobility fee and the $700,000 in impact fee. The project that we're constructing is now listed in the capital improvements plan for the county, but yet unfunded. We will fund it and we will construct it prior to the first home being sold. And this development has also been phased and timed to coincide with the transportation improvements, which Bill will touch on. So with that, I'll hand it off to Bill, and then I'll come back afterwards.
Commissioners, again, thank you for your time this evening. My name is Bill Schilling. I'm with Kimley Horn and Associates. Here on behalf of the applicant, my address is 12740 Grand Bay Parkway West, Suite 2350, Jacksonville, Florida 32258. I am a licensed professional engineer in Florida, and I'm here tonight to talk about essentially infrastructure, traffic, schools, utilities, etc. And where I will start is, I think one of the things that has been eye-opening is it's amazing what a little over a year has done for this project as far as public infrastructure, as we're now seeing projects that aren't in the tens but hundreds of millions of dollars in public infrastructure opening in this area of the county. And so I'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing as far as traffic volumes, and we'll talk through a couple things. One, to share, so this project site is within the approved urban service boundary of the county. We are within the Beltway, and so we're roughly 1.5 miles within the Beltway. And the projects that we talked about a little bit over a year ago, and we talked at the presentation about these projects, roadway projects specifically, that were in the pipeline and were coming to the county. Well, I'm excited to share that the first two are open. And so we're now able to actually measure the results of how that is improving, how these two projects are improving the transportation system in Clay County. And again, I'll touch on that as we get to the next slide. But so improvement one, the Cathedral Oaks Parkway, which is essentially a parallel route to State Road 16 that's running from 218 to US 17, has opened. It is now opened. It is clear that it is taking traffic off of State Road 16 as motorists and residents are now having another opportunity to make those east-west trips across the county. Second, now the number two, which the green line shows the entire length of the First Coast Expressway in this area. Certainly, the portion that goes from Blanding down to US 17 has opened, and we are seeing certainly folks use that roadway now that it's open. So the green lines are the ones that have opened, roadway infrastructure that's open and now being used since we were here before you last. The yellow dashed improvements are roadway infrastructure items that are in some level of progress right now. And so I'll start with number 3, which is State Road 16 widening, which the DOT is in process on this now, and they're looking at widening State Road 16 to 4 lanes from the First Coast Expressway over to 315, and the realigned, what I'll call the realignment of 315. In our latest correspondence and discussions and coordination with DOT, right now they're forecasting an opening year of 2032 for those 4-lane improvements. So within the window that we're looking at into the future right now. And then improvement number 4, which I understand is being referred to as Clay Dairy Parkway, which has for a long time been discussed as the County Road 315 realignment. So it is a realignment of 315 north of State Road 16, and then carries along the existing 315, but then traverses through Governor's Park and on southward to US 17. We understand that construction has started on the very southernmost of this from US 17, and certainly a good portion of this is going to be tied to those projects, Peters Creek, Governor's Park, as they come along. But again, improvements that on 315 that we're starting to see and we would expect portions of to come online during the construction of this project. And certainly north of State Road 16, as 315 gets realigned, that realignment is going to become the collector road. And essentially old 315, as I would refer to it, will take on more of a feel of a local road and less of the through road. So again, all things that are happening, very positive. So we'll talk a little bit about the data. I'll do my best to not get too crazy about the data here, but we took our counts that we did a little over a year ago at the intersection of 315 and State Road 16, and we did new counts. So we've done new counts within the last 30 days. So the left is the 2024 data that we had when we were here last. The data on the right is the data that was collected last month. And as noted in red, so highlighted in red, are the reductions that we have seen at the intersection. And it's not necessarily, and this is AM, so I'm starting with AM data, so this is in the morning. Again, just to confirm, both of these counts were collected when the new school, Spring Park Elementary, has been opened. So both of these counts reflect school traffic and were collected at times and on days when the school was in session. But southbound on 315, since, and this is both Cathedral Oaks Parkway and First Coast Expressway opening, southbound right, we're seeing roughly a 40% reduction in traffic. Southbound left, a little over 25%, 27%. But what's even more astounding is on our eastbound left, so basically folks coming across State Road 16 and turning left and using 315 to get up to US 17, we've seen over a 50% reduction in that traffic in the morning. And it's not necessarily noted here on this slide, But the through traffic, we're also seeing reductions in through traffic on State Road 16. So these through volumes from 2024 to 2025 is roughly a 14% reduction in through traffic on State Road 16 as well. So not only are we seeing reductions on 315, we're seeing reductions on 16 as those trips are now rerouting, motorists are rerouting up to Cathedral Oaks Parkway. We'll touch on PM. And it's a similar story in the PM with one little quirk. In the PM, the southbound left actually went up by two trips, so there's actually, which is why it's green. So there was actually a slight increase, 8% in the morning, or in the afternoon. This is PM. Southbound left, southbound right was over a 20% reduction, and eastbound left we're seeing a 33% reduction. But even more interesting, in the PM, the data shows that it's roughly a 20% reduction in through traffic on State Road 16. So again, in the PM, we're seeing even more of a diversion of traffic up to Cathedral Oaks Parkway to use that east-west route north of State Road 16. So all, again, when we were here a little over a year ago, a lot of this we were estimating, we were surmising what the potential reductions in this area in traffic could be. And I'm excited to report we have actual data here that supports much of the logic that we presented before, that we are seeing actual reductions in the data now, which effectively overall is improving level of service on these roadways being 16 and 315. So that's more of a macro view, and I'll zoom in to the micro view, because again, where we were a little over a year ago, the DOT and the county had identified County Road 315 and State Road 16 as an intersection that needed attention and needed improvements. And the recommendation at that time was to add a southbound right turn lane. So that improvement got added to the county CIP, the improvement program. However, it's been unfunded. A year ago, Pulte committed to putting $300,000 towards that right turn lane. We've listened, we've heard, and we're back sharing that Pulte is going to take on this improvement. And I know in Mark's presentation, he showed an image of what that plan looks like. So Pulte is 100% committed to constructing this right turn lane, which honestly will significantly improve this intersection in the interim until the 315 realignment occurs. So again, very happy to share that Pulte is making that commitment. And this southbound right turn lane will be constructed before the first resident moves into a house in the subdivision. So this is us doing our best to try to pull together what all this timing looks like. And in my opinion, the message that I'm wanting to convey is there's a lot of discussion at our last hearing a little over a year ago is the timing right for this project? And maybe the answer a year and a half ago was maybe this project's a little too early. But I would say right now, based on all the millions of dollars that are being invested in public infrastructure, the timing is now right for this project. And so a couple things to highlight. The Pulte home sale. So right now, the current schedule we're on, assuming everything moves forward as planned, the earliest residents would be able to move in right now would be forecast as the first quarter of 2028. With ultimately home sales and the build out of this project running through roughly the end of 2032. And we've talked about those improvements that have happened. I didn't mention Peters Creek wastewater treatment plant. That expansion has been completed. This project has received its water and sewer availability letter. So we do know that we have reserved water and sewer capacity. Certainly having that wastewater treatment plant in the area has helped that. We've talked about the roadway improvements that are in place, and then certainly we're expecting the State Road 16 improvement, which we have here, to be coming online as this project is building out through 2032, and 315, that realignment and those improvements happening while this project develops as well. I do want to take a minute as well to mention that as far as schools go, I don't want to leave that unmentioned. So we do have a reservation letter for our school capacity. Right now, so I'll share the capacity that was reserved was for 177 units. We know we've reduced back to the 160. So we're sharing on the slide what that student count is for the 160 single family units. And again, we do have our reservation in place for those students within the Clay County School District. So again, we're really excited to bring this back before the commission. We feel like this is the right time. Basically, it generates a much more productive use on this property, given all of the dollars that are being invested in public infrastructure at this time. So, and I'm going to turn it back over to Mark to finish us up. Thank you.
Again, thank you for your time and patience for our presentation. We just want to mention that we agree with staff findings. They recommend approval for this. They've researched this with their comprehensive plan and what they believe is good for the future growth of this area. They mentioned that this is a transitioning area from rural to suburban. There's no immediate adjacent agricultural designations. A Cathedral Oaks Parkway will and has already increased or helped out the traffic in this area, and that the proposed rezoning is compatible with the comprehensive plan. As you've heard, not to reiterate too much, but we believe that this corridor is poised, entitled, and prepared for growth. The project is compatible with existing and future residential. The project has been revised based on community input, significant input. We've already mentioned about the turn lane. We've already mentioned about the Cathedral Oaks taking traffic away from this intersection. That Clay Dairy Parkway, that realignment, when it occurs, it will bring this road back to a local classification. And it's always important to remember, as Bill stated, we have that school concurrency reservation. To conclude, Pulte has a long-standing history in Clay County and continues to be part of the community by participating in Clay County Habitat for Humanity, the Build to Honor program, and special veterans financing. They will build a quality project and assure that all promises are kept. With that, thank you again, and we'll stand by for any questions.
Stay where you are. Any questions of the applicant?
I think my question is for Mr. Schilling, though. In the slides that you projected before with the traffic study,
Yes, sir.
there was a red number and there was a green number next to the AM and the PM. What did those numbers represent? Were they the number of hours or?
They were, and Dodie, would you mind going? Oh, I need to, okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So on this slide, so the red and the green?
See, it says 171 PM, 138 PM.
Yes, sir. So
What do those numbers represent?
those are the southbound trips in the peak hour. So yes, sir. So the 147 rights and 24 lefts total 171, and the 112 rights and 26 lefts in the current count are 138.
Okay, so basically what this is telling us is that the 171 was only how many trips? Or, I'm
100
trying to understand, because you have
Yes, sir.
numbers underneath there, you know, where it looks like maybe there was 102 turns, 840. I'm trying to gather what all these numbers represent, because it looks like it's a little disparaging to me. It looks like maybe one was a little longer and one was a little shorter.
Yeah, and I apologize in that I know that I'm throwing a lot of numbers out there. So what these numbers represent, so we'll start at the bottom. So that stick figure represents the intersection, with 315, that line being representing the road, north-south road, State Road 16, that line representing the east-west State Road 16 road. These are counts that were conducted, and this represents the highest hour in the afternoon. So we count multiple hours in the afternoon, and we break them up into 15-minute increments, and we figure out what the highest hour is. And so that represents, so in the highest PM peak hour, when on the day we counted, those are the number of vehicles that we counted. So as an example, the 598, and I'm on the right side. So if you're looking at the right side, the 598, that was 598 vehicles went through, westbound through on State Road 16 within that entire hour.
Past that intersection.
Yes, sir, through that. And then the 26, there were 26 southbound lefts, vehicles turning southbound left in that 1 hour. So in round numbers, roughly one every 2 minutes. And then there were 112 vehicles in that same hour, that same peak hour, that turned southbound right on State Road 315. And so this is comparing the total number of vehicles that were counted last month versus the count that was done in 2024. And it's showing a reduction. So southbound on County Road 315, this year we counted 138 cars, actual physical cars on the road, versus 171 cars a year ago, before Cathedral Oaks and the First Coast Expressway opened.
Do you have any idea what the time was? Was it like a 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock time frame? Was it a 4 to 5, 5 to 6? Was it a 3 to 7? What was the time element for both of these?
Generally, it occurs within 4 to 6 o'clock. And so I don't know exactly the increment, but I can look and see if I can
I'm just
find
trying
out.
to,
Yes, sir.
you
But
know,
it would
apples to
typically,
apples, you know what I mean?
it would typically be between 4 and 6 o'clock. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm satisfied, Pete.
Real quick follow on to that.
Yes, sir.
If this development is approved and built, have you done any traffic projections as far as what impact that'll be on 315?
Yes, sir. Great question. And so, and I'll stick specifically with this intersection, because many a time how the intersections operate dictate how the road is going to operate, because your intersections are your choke points. And so we forecast with these new numbers, and we're forecasting that in the AM peak hour with our project traffic, this intersection will operate at level of service C, which is an acceptable level of service. And then in the afternoon with the project traffic, so the PM peak hour, we're forecasting level of service D, which is also an acceptable level of service. D, yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you.
So
I do, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. I'm not sure which of the gentlemen can answer it. A lot of what you mentioned in your presentation, where did you come up with a 10-foot setback on a rear lot? That's less distance than me to you. I mean, and that's
I'll
going to be
defer
their
to
backyard?
to one of the others on that one.
Somebody needs to justify, that's not much more than the patio in the back of the house.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Garrett Queener with Pulte Homes. My address is 12724 Grand Bay Parkway, Suite 140, Jacksonville, Florida, 32258. I believe, and Doty, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the 10-foot rear yard setback mimics the zoning category that we were mimicking as well. But again, if that's, unfavorable to the board, we could certainly look at revising that. But I believe that's what we have in our package at this time. But understand the concern, certainly, we'd be willing to discuss that.
What zoning category were you mimicking? Do you know, Doty? Because if it was AR, it's a lot more than 10
Well,
feet.
it's not AR that we were mimicking. You're supposed to pick a zoning category to kind of model your PUD after, so. Yeah, it may have been RB, but Mark can find that answer during public comment. We can have that answer for you.
I'd like to know what the
Yeah, yes, sir.
setback is in RB.
Okay.
please, for rear setback.
Yes, sir. We can find that for you.
Any questions of the applicant? Okay. I have a lot of cards, so we're going to open the public hearing. I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to tell you don't speak, but if somebody has already beat your drum, we'll get that message and we'll take it to heart. But if you still want to speak on that same subject, feel free to do so. With that, I'll open the public hearing and I'll call the first card and then I'll call the second card, which will be the one that'll be in queue to follow the first person.
Mr. Chair, ask them to kind of be ready so we don't have to wait
Yeah.
when they come up.
Also, I need to ask, because we've had several people come in, has everybody taken the oath that wants to speak? Anybody has not taken the oath? Okay. That's up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll,
He should go first, Pete.
yeah. All right, we have two that haven't taken the oath? Three? Okay, once the three of you stand up and Ms. Blanchett will give you the word. Okay,
Kind of move to the center of the room, please. I'm waiting on him to come around the corner.
Tell Pete, make sure you're in the CAC, supposed to go first.
Please raise your right hand. Do you all solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you all.
okay, first off, before we get into all the cards, I'd like the CAC member to come to the podium and give us a quick synopsis of your decision-making.
Good evening, my name is Ryan Marcies, I'm the chairman of the CAC Springs. We came to the conclusion that you saw our vote, it was 6-0 to deny. We came to the conclusion just because it was not a fit for the community because of basically Saratoga Springs, of that coming in, the development of the Dairy Road. There's not a correct or a good time frame of when that's going to kick off, and for the alleviation of 315. You still have Agricola that just got sold to BTI, so that could, we don't know what's that going to bring. That can bring in, another 15,000 homes down below, and that's, so we took that in consideration. The school concurrency, yes, it is concurred, but it is concurred because they're taking consideration of online classes. They're taking consideration of what is it the other thing? Charter homes. So it's not just the Clay High and Saratoga. So those are the other things that we took in consideration. But if I have any other questions that you guys want to ask me, I will answer them the best of my ability.
Any questions of the chairman?
I have one, sir. So is the primary objection traffic, potential traffic? Is that what you're?
Yes, the other thing was traffic, and it's just the 315 is not suited for it. They're still not, for 315 not being widened yet, and consideration of 16 not being widened yet, and we still don't have, everything. Cathedral Oaks is still going to be, yes, it's there, but it's 160 homes times three cars per family now. What is that? That's 3 times, that's 300 cars, 300 vehicles coming through there, and 315A coming down that back way. And then you have students. So yes, traffic is a big consideration. And we feel that it's not ready, and we listened to all the people behind me, and they were very opposed. And being the Citizens Advisory, we took that into consideration. That was our main We feel that we were the main voice for their consideration, and that's what we took into consideration. So we voted pretty much for their voice. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Well,
Mr. Chair, can I ask the school board a question? Was he correct? Do you guys take in online and charter schools into your concurrency calculation?
As of today, if an applicant was to come in, we would take, per Florida statute, have to take into consideration charter schools as well as like online schools. However, at the time of this application, that wasn't the case. We considered physical seats in our schools in the service area. So what had happened with this particular concurrency application is there was an extension filed by the applicant due to a what's called a extension, it's Florida statute 252363, where the governor can issue tolling extensions for concurrency certificates based on emergency declarations from hurricanes. So this particular concurrency application originally was issued in March 26, 2024, and was extended to March 25th, 2028.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I don't think this is considered testifying. Our attorney probably wants to weigh in. But we keep talking about the County Road 315 alignment, and I'm not sure everybody here knows exactly what that is. Would it be okay for me to explain it? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. Well, can you put back up you had a drawing that had the Peters Business Park on it, I think, in your presentation, Dodie. I asked her, she wasn't sure of it.
In the back, did you want county staff to explain?
Yeah, if our engineering guy is here, yes. Please, because I'm not sure everybody here understands what we keep talking about when we say the 315 extension or realignment. And the maps weren't real clear. Go back. You had one that was, you actually had the Peters Business Park up there. Oh, that was the other one? Okay.
Richard Smith, county engineer,
Yes.
also the county guy, engineering guy. The Green Cove Springs bypass, which has been officially named the Clay Dairy Parkway, is a 4-lane divided highway that is proposed to go from US 17 south of the Green Cove city limits, just south of 15A where it intersects, and will go west of Green Cove Springs and will basically will replace Springbank Road at that intersection near the fairgrounds where the livestock pavilion is. And then it makes a swoosh down and ties back into existing 315 at Medina, which is the entrance into Magnolia West. So it's kind of broken into probably will end up being 4 parts. The south part is under construction now between US 17 onto State Road 23, the expressway. The developers of that area, Governor's Park it's called, it's been renamed Laurelton now, and Agricola, they are building a new ramps that will tie it, has a new interchange onto the toll road. The next section will go from the toll road up to State Road 16, where Springbank is. Springbank will be realigned to tee into the Clay Dairy Parkway. DOT is proposing 4-laning from the existing State Road 16 to Virgin Diamond, which I'm sure everybody here is in agreement with and drives through there on purpose to get to Penny Farm for no reason. It'll go from there to Springbank. That's the 4-laning of the first phase. Those plans are currently being drawn by Arcadis Engineering, which is the consultant for DOT. And I think Garrett said the time, or Mark said the time of that was 2032. That's about when you'll see the actual road open. But it's being drawn and right-of-way is being acquired now from the various property owners, including the county, the fairgrounds, and other property owners along the way. The next part, which is a new road through the woods. You see those woods across 315, between 315 and Rosemary Hill. The road will cut through there. If you zoom in, Jody, I don't know if you can zoom in close enough on it, but that will basically parallel existing 315 and take pretty much all the through traffic going from 16 to 17 now. We're bypassing Green Cove away from existing 315 up to the Magnolia Springs back entrance, which is Medina Lane.
Specifically, the part that I was wanted to highlight was as 315 comes south, it's going to be realigned through the Peters Business Park so that it essentially hits right at Springbank Road, where Springbank is today.
Yes, sir. There's also a
Yeah.
road there called Chesser that we have some right of way there as well, but
And that becomes a four-way intersection with 315 and Springbank. And,
Correct.
and what will be the piece of 315 that's left between 16 and wherever the Peters Creek property is, that kind of remains as just an access road for local traffic.
yes, sir, the plans are for it to tee into 350, into Clay Dairy Parkway. If you go out there, and I went out there Sunday, you can actually see, you gotta be a little bit creative, but you can see the new road being built already. There, that first phase of Saratoga Springs is going in. It's bordered by the new alignment of Clay Dairy Parkway, which will basically make 315 a road just for the folks that live on it and not really a cut-through road for much of anybody.
Ask a question to follow up on that? Sure. Richard, thank you for letting us catch you off guard, by the way. Appreciate you coming up. What's the timeline for the completion of those roads, of Clay Dairy Parkway?
Clay Dairy Parkway, it's under construction now on the south end from 15A over to 17. I think we actually already have the plats in where they've actually platted the lots to build the homes, to begin the construction of the homes. Up close to the business park, that around Medina, you can see that Valancourt is the contractor on that. The gate's closed, you can't get in. I tried to there for yesterday, but you can see how the road has already, the base of it and the alignment of it's already been put in. That is going to be dependent upon the Peters Creek Business Park and the tenants that they are trying to attract to come there. That's a better question for the Clay County Development Authority, but we're hearing that there will be announcements coming soon.
Okay, well, I think my question is, when Clay Dairy Road comes in and connects to 16, I'm trying to understand the timing between when that connection would be made and that bypass essentially from this area would be established. And it sounds like it would correspond with the 2028 timeframe that I heard from the developer, but I just wanted to confirm that.
It is on what's called our mobility fee list, Commissioner Bory, which means that the money is available to a developer if he wants to come in and say, we're going to build that road now, and there's a $60 million chunk there. They would build the road and they would get credit for $60 million in permit fees. We would not receive those permit fees when the buildings came in, but we would have a road that was part of our mobility network completed. Instead of waiting until all 60 million are in the bank, then we can go out for proposals, design it for 2 years, acquire right of way for another year, and build it. So the answer to your question, the short thing would be, if they got the right tenant to come in right now, they may start construction next week. You know, it's that, or design next week. It's driven completely by the economic engine that's going to be that business center there.
Okay, just one final question if I could. And I hate to put you on the spot, but you're the county engineer, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you have any concern with traffic for this development, considering all the roadway improvements you just described?
When you look at the timeline, selling homes in 2028, where the last one's being sold in 32, it'll be completely different out there, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
That I wouldn't. As of now, we know they're going to put in a third lane for, just like anybody that builds over 50 lots, they put in a third lane on the road they're tying into, which is a left turn lane. that would take care of any local issues, but it'll look completely different by 2032.
Okay, thank you.
So, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I'm done.
Okay, are we ready to open the public hearing?
You're actually already in. We're kind of out
I understand, but you guys,
Sorry.
all right. The first card I have is for Sue Wiseman, and I have to read this. She's waiving she didn't want to speak, but she wants to vote against it.
Give us her address.
2231 Stauffer, Green Cove Springs, Florida.
Thank you.
All right, the next card is Kim Stacy. And the one after that one is Danny Smith. And please give us your name and address.
Sure. My name is Kim Stacy. I reside at 2248 Stauffer Road, Green Cove Springs, Florida. I first want to say I oppose the rezoning of 315 and 315A. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about the critical issues affecting the future of our county, the responsibility of the developers who profit from our land and our growth. We are witnessing unprecedented development in Clay County with new communities, thousands of new homes changing the face of our once rural landscape it's changing. Developers like Dream Finders and others are actively building here, marketing our county as an ideal place to raise a family, leveraging our quality of life and the proximity of Jacksonville. We welcome the responsible growth. What we do not welcome is the business model that extracts the value from our community while funneling the benefits elsewhere. My concern is the contribution generated from these developments are not being reinvested back into our very infrastructures and amenities that our new residents and existing residents desperately needs. Instead, we see high-profile donations and investments made in neighborhood counties, particularly Duval, for example. Patrick Zepleckis, however you pronounce that, the CEO of Dreamfinder Homes, has been widely recognized for significant contributions, including a major commitment to the University of Florida new graduate campus in downtown Jacksonville, $2.5 million, I think it was. This project was touted as a game changer for Jacksonville economy, designed to revitalize the urban core and create jobs in the Duval County. While economic development for the region is positive, it feels like a slap in the face of Clay County residents. Our schools are being overcrowded, our roads are more congested, our public safety services, like a new fire station, needs to be handled and influx. The thousands of residents are strained to keep up. We are seeing impact growth, but not the compensation investments for the very entities driving the growth. Clay County should be the primary beneficiary of the developments occurring within our borders. We need those substantial contributions to support our local schools district, build new parks, and improve our infrastructure. Not boasting Jacksonville incentives or private institutions like Bowles Schools, which has also been associated in the development contributions in the media. Patrick Zalakaski also gave $6 million to the Bowles School just here recently. Commissioners, I urge you to take a hard look at the agreements and the incentives we are offering these developers. We need a stringent requirements that ensure the tangible, direct, significant reinvestments into Clay County. Let's work together and ensure that the dreams that they are selling in their marketing materials is really for us, the citizens, and not the developments of our neighborhood communities. Thank you. I also have the news articles, 2 news articles. One is the Dream Finders for the Jacksonville University, and the other one is for the one for Bowles. Here, this just happened here, I think 24 and 25, and I'd like to have all this submitted into the record. He's gonna speak next, but I'm gonna try to help him with this if I can.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stacy.
Can you hold it?
I got it.
Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak on my concerns, for taking the time to hear my concerns. My name is Danny Smith. I live at 2248 Stauffer Road in Green Cove Springs. First, let me say on the record, I oppose the rezoning of County Road 315 and 315A. I'm here tonight to talk about the crisis that is no longer a future concern, but a present danger, the unchecked overdevelopment and rezoning of our county that is directly leading to increased traffic, more accidents, and people getting killed on our roads. Clay County is a wonderful place to live, which is why so many want to move here, but our infrastructure, particularly our road network, has not kept pace with this imbalance, is creating a critical safety hazard. Just 2 weeks ago, on October 22nd, our community was shaken by a terrific fatal head-on collision right on State Road 16 in front of Clay High School. An 18-year-old man was killed, and a 21-year-old father was left with serious injury, facing months of rehabilitation. This tragedy occurred around 7 a.m., a time of peak traffic when students and parents are going to school and work. While the immediate cause was a wrong-way driver, I and other residents who live near the intersection of State Road 16, Randall Road and County Road 315, 315A, say the area has become increasingly dangerous in recent years due to the sheer volume of traffic. Sheriff Cook even had to advise students to use the school's back entrance that day because the main road was completely shut down for hours while rerouting all other traffic down 315 and 315A. This was not an isolated incident. State Road 16 is a two-lane road that is now heavily traveled, serving not just the school, but also in fairgrounds and growing population. The increased density from this new development is funneling more and more cars on two roads that were never designed to handle this capacity. When the county commissioners approved rezoning new subdivisions without corresponding proactive infrastructure improvements, we are effectively prioritizing developer profits over the lives of our neighbors and children. The traffic backups are more than an inconvenience. They are a clear and present danger that can and does lead to death. The county has a safe streets for all projects underway, and that's a positive step. But we need more than surveys and action plans. We need immediate concrete action. We need to halt rezoning approvals for PUD and high-density residential projects until our road infrastructure can safely support and current population, expedite road widening and safety improvements on known high-risk corridors like State Road 16, County Road 315, 315A. Mandate impact fees or developer contributions that fully cover the cost of necessary road expansions before new projects break ground. We entrust our commissions with the safety and well-being of this county. The time for deliberation is over. We need to stop the overdevelopment that is killing our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Justin Garber, and then after Mr. Garber is George Goodrich.
Good evening. Justin Garber, 2254 Stauffer Road, Green Cove Springs, Florida 32043. I'm opposed to the rezoning, and one thing I definitely would have to say is I notice a lot of the rezoning happening around Jacksonville and the surrounding areas are always ahead of the infrastructure change when it comes to the roads and the upgrades. One example is there was construction signs on Highway 17 saying it was supposed to start a month ago. I haven't seen a single thing happen yet. The road where Highway 17 comes to the intersection where the small gas station is so in disrepair that it's hard to even go around there and drive there with a normal vehicle. And all I see is big trucks and garbage trucks coming around the intersection, completely destroying it. This 315A road is well beyond its usage, especially for the type of traffic that's driving on it as is. If they wanted to widen it and if they want to improve it, they should have done so a while ago. Not once the road is almost destroyed and before any construction is gonna happen to that road, be completely indrivable. So I'm opposed to this rezoning.
Thank you, Mr. Garber. George Goodrich and then Susan Goodrich.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for listening to me. First of all, Garrett and Mark have done a great job of trying to, they've been working on this for a while, and I know their challenges, and they're continuing to try to put a round peg in a square hole. I could stand up here and was prepared to give you a long list of reasons why this is not a fit and should not go forward. You guys are professionals. You see more development applications than I do. You understand how it works, and you guys know far better why this is not a fit for us than I can state. You know, the traffic, the infrastructure, the density swing, sensitive wetlands, wildlife corridors, all of those things. I will say, the first time I recall hearing 315A realignment, I believe I was a freshman or sophomore at the University of Florida. This was back in the 90s, and this was going to be the next best thing. You know, and I appreciate Mr. Schilling bringing out a lot of my, you know, a lot of my ammunition against this because, yes, the First Coast Expressway is open now, and traffic's worse. Once, you know, Saratoga Springs is not stabilized. We don't even know the impacts that are going to happen once Saratoga Springs is fully built out. The farm to market roads of 315A are, you know, they're falling apart now. The 315A was surfaced a couple of years ago and it's already falling apart. But my biggest concern is drainage. I took some elevations myself. Currently, 315A acts as a dam on my property. You know, I took my own laser out there, and the edge of 315A is, you know, a 1/4 inch lower than the crown of the road. The crown of the road is 11.52 inches higher than my finished floor elevation. Everything on my property flows from west to the east. The minute this is built out, you've seen the elevations on the grades, the blue top slab, the pads over on 315 across from Willow Springs and Mag West. They're 10 feet, I'm estimating, above the finished floor of Mag West and potentially Saratoga Springs, or Willow Springs. 315 is sitting in a little valley. Everything, the first time we get any kind of storm, 315 is going to flood. Mag West, I'm concerned what would happen there. I mean, where's the water go? On 315A, my property goes west to east, and there is one elliptical corrugated metal pipe running under 315A. It's 24 by approximately 32 inches, and it's not going to carry all of this water. We've seen no elevations from this development. There's nothing been proposed as far as grades. You know, flooding is going to happen. I've seen it happen. You guys have seen it happen. We've got to prevent this. Please, thank you for listening to us, and we need to build with the land, not just on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodrich. Susan Goodrich, and then we have Patricia Fernandez.
Good evening. My name is Susan Goodrich. I live directly beside the property proposed for this new development. Own and care for our 10 acres at 3776 County Road 315A, where me and my husband have worked over 20 years to maintain the agricultural character and natural beauty of our community. Many of our neighbors that are here tonight that live on 315A all own farms or raise animals, have gardens, support the local food pantries. Everyone that lives on that road has inherited this property from relatives or families or have lived there forever. As a matter of fact, our grandmother, my husband's grandmother, gave us this property as a gift to live on and reside, and so that we could give it to our children and they could give it to their grandchildren. Just think about that. And now we want this right next to our back door, right next to our fence, right where my pig lives? I don't think so. We're not opposed to growth, but we are for smart growth that protects existing residents and keeps our land consistent with its agricultural zoning and community plan. This project, as it stands, would forever alter the character of our neighborhood, increase traffic, strain infrastructure, and continued overdevelopment like Willow Springs and Magnolia Point. The new proposal also would allow nearly 3 houses per acre, destroying trees, wildlife habitat, and the natural rural buffers that would define our area. Even more concerning for me is the place of the retention ponds adjacent to our property. They have moved them 2 or 3 different times. I don't even know where they're going to be at. I'm concerned that it would create a great danger of overflowing and flooding our property and home, risk of runoff, mosquito issues, and changes in natural drainage that could destroy our soil and livestock. We ask the board to deny this rezoning and wait until Saratoga Springs and its 4,489 homes are completed to see how this impacts our roads and surrounding area. They just started this development. We've got to wait. 160 more homes are not going to make any difference to anybody. Please protect what makes our area special and vote no. Thank you for your time and for listening to the voices of the residents who live here and care deeply about this land.
Thank you, Ms. Goodrich. Patricia Fernandez, and then we have Teresa Aliano.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Fernandez, and I live at 3009 Russell Road, 209, County Road 209. I have resided in Clay County for 57 years. I am a retired school teacher. It's imperative that we protect and save the green spaces that we still have and enjoy. They are conducive to our good health. We need to stop destroying the natural world around us, the habitat for the animals that were here before any human being set foot in this county. Our schools can't keep up with the growth. We do not need any additional traffic. It's already awful. And if you live anywhere near 209, you know what I mean. I oppose any and all amendments to the future land use map as it now stands. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez. Teresa Arellano, and then Kimberly Middleton.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm Teresa Ariano, and I live at 765 Dewart Drive, Orange Park, 32073. I'm glad that the Springs CAC unanimously recommended against this rezoning proposal last month. I attended the meeting last year at which the BCC denied this proposal, and I'm here asking you to recommend that they do the same with this modified version. Justifying further development because we are already surrounded by, and I've heard the term mega development several times, and we're already on the cusp of many thousands of additional homes coming in is asinine when further development is entirely unnecessary. We don't need it. Acceptable traffic, acceptable to whom? Acceptable versus what? For the people living here. School concurrencies, I'm a former teacher as well. That was my mom who just spoke. Online learning and teaching is not apples to apples with having kids physically at school. I taught through COVID, and I know what it's like. Not the same thing. There are only so many ways to say the same thing. This is, as I said, the third time I've been here to address some version of this proposal, and my opposition to it has not and will not change regardless of the rounds of modifications and reproposals made. My family has lived here since the late 60s. My brother and I attended all of the all of the Clay County schools. My husband and I have raised our 2 children here. I've been angered and saddened by the crazy pace and manner of development. I mourn the loss of the county I grew up in. I realize that some change is inevitable, but this unbridled and non-sustainable development is not acceptable. Green wild spaces are dwindling here. I've seen and experienced the insane increases in traffic, speed, and congestion that have resulted from the development that has already been allowed here. And as people keep saying, a lot of this isn't even come online yet. and it's unacceptable as it is. Further loss of green space with the addition of new roads, bringing more cars, results in greater strain on existing infrastructure. We have more traffic, a higher demand on our schools, on our water, our emergency services. The impacts of this congestion and stretched services are unacceptable. As my mother said, several people have mentioned, we're not the only important species here. Wildlife needs green space. Wildlife-human conflict will continue to rise as we keep pushing animals out because they have increasingly less habitat. When their spaces are gone, they're gone. I'd like to thank you again for your time, and please recommend that the commission votes no on this. This development, above all, it's not necessary. We don't need another development here. Making a bad proposal slightly less bad does not make it good. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Kimberly Middleton, and then Reuben Moody.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kimberly Middleton, and I reside at 2266 Knowles Road in Green Cove Springs. Thank you for all of your time tonight. I live on my family's farm that borders the proposed development site, and we've worked and farmed on that land for over, thank you, I didn't think about that, for over 80 years. Our farm produces food year-round for the community, seasonal crops, chickens, cattle, pigs, honey, sugarcane, pineapples, much more. Some of that food goes directly to the Green Cove Springs Food Pantry on a regular basis, as well as our local church. On our property sits a spring-fed pond about 2 acres in size, which supplies water for some of those crops. That pond is close to one of the proposed retention ponds for this new development. We're greatly concerned that the changes to the wetlands and drainage systems will alter the natural flow of the water to the surrounding areas. The application notes 7.26 acres of pond area. But will that truly handle the runoff from the proposed homes and the surrounding land? If it doesn't, where does that overflow go? Floodwater follows the path of least resistance, which would include our pond and our farm. That water would carry contaminants, threatening our soil, our crops, and the safety of our livestock. Once that happens, our ability to produce crops and provide pastures for livestock is gone. Who will be responsible for the damage? Is it the developer who's already gone or the county who approved it? The 2-mile, 2-lane stretch of Highway 315 is already dangerous. There's a school zone, 3 separate posted speed zones, no shoulders, heavy commercial trucks cause constant damage, and water often pools along the edges. I've come to call the Rosemary 315-315A intersection, where there are no traffic signals, the kaleidoscope of chaos. Just recently, a tragic head-on collision there involved a young person that I know personally. Yes, Cathedral Oaks opened, but with no turn lanes, traffic already backs up to Willow Springs. And with 4,400 plus new homes that have already been approved in Saratoga Springs, we're setting ourselves up for another Sand Ridge Road scenario. Gridlock that will also delay emergency vehicles and endanger lives. Our roads simply cannot handle more irresponsible development in their current condition. The application claims this project is compatible with surrounding communities by continually referencing Willow Springs, Saratoga Springs, and Magnolia West. However, we are the surrounding community, not just those developments. Clear-cutting trees and creating a flood zone for 160 box-style homes is not compatible with our rural way of life or surrounding characteristics. Forcing residents to bear the environmental and safety consequences of unchecked growth is unacceptable. I urge you to protect our already existing community and lessen the burden of yet another unnecessary development to our already failing county infrastructure by denying this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Middleton. Mr. Moody, and then Cheryl Copeland.
Hello, sir. My name is Reuben Moody. I oppose the rezoning of CR 315.
Mr. Moody, could you give us your address, please?
My name is Reuben Moody. I live at 1375 Passetti Road, Green Cove Springs, Florida.
Thank you.
I oppose the rezoning of CR 315 and CR 315A. I want the rezoning meeting when they occurred. At the time it was said in these meetings that the development would not affect any of the neighbors of their property. Why have been flooded due to the negligence of Valancourt Construction, Clay County Public Works, and my county commissioner, Ms. Burke. I had significant property damage to my property that has not been cleaned up as of 11/4/25. Who do I talk to for all of the ones mentioned above to take responsibility for their action? I want my property damage cleaned up, the head wall of the bridge off of my property, and we would like to have a bridge on Bassetti Road because the pipes that are there cannot withstand the water flow coming down the creek stream, which is going to take care of, who's going to take care of these matters? This is also a safety matter because it's one way in and one way out. I have video, pictures, witnesses, and police reports stating that the road is flooded and unpassable. Looks like I have been affected by them, the development now, who holds them accountable. So who holds a developer accountable when they flood your property and damage your property and you tell them about it and like I say, it's still damaged. I got a waterway, it's a drainage to the neighborhood I live in. The whole creek's filled up now full of sand, so my whole property is just flooded. Takes out trees, plants, everything I got planted. I've been there 15 years. It's never happened until this development got there. The road's 15A. It's destroyed. They use it all the time. Then they're going to put a new road across the little patch of woods, and they say they're going to use that. Well, what about the 15A is destroyed now? They got a hole on 15A instead of fixing. They put a sign up that says dip. That's a really fix, huh? You know, really, man, we need infrastructure, you know. They need to come out here and dig this creek out across my property, and that would allow the water flow to go out through to the St. Johns River. But instead, they clock it up with the pipes, and they ain't got no bridge, so the water fills up on the other side of the road, and now the water comes across that road like a trough instead of a stream, and it just floods 80% of my property. Like I say, I got video of all this, and nobody's cleaned up my property yet. And I'd like to know who I talked to about cleaning up my property.
Is that it, Mr. Moody?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I'd like to remind the audience that audience participation is not desired nor wanted, so let's just keep that in mind. Ms. Copeland? And then we have Harry Colley.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Copeland, and I'm from Smith Station, Alabama. My P.O. Box 998. I reside in Valley, Alabama. My brother Alan and I drove 6 hours from Alabama to be here tonight to attend this meeting to express our support for the rezoning. On May 1st, 2022, my mother, Lucy Bernice Goodrich Colley, passed away, leaving 34 acres on County Road 315 in her estate. The property has been deeded to my three brothers and I. It's her desire for the property to be sold and to satisfy her will. The property was given to my mother by her parents, Julian and Lucy Goodrich, which are my grandparents. The property has been in the family since 1928 and was given to my mother with no strings attached. It was a gift. My grandparents knew at some point that this property would need to be sold. This rezoning project is important to my family so we can satisfy my mother's will and fully put her to rest. My brothers and my sister, myself, spent many summers and holidays in Green Cove Springs, visiting my grandparents and other relatives. As adults, we continue to visit. My brother Harry and his wife, their son Kyle, and his family reside on property that was once my mother's, and they've been there for years. They've seen the growth in Green Cove Springs. The Pulte Group has proposed to build a beautiful residential community with quality homes and green park space. Pulte would like to honor my grandparents, Lucy and Julian Goodrich, by naming the residential community Goodrich Estates. Streets are to be named after my grandparents, my mother, and past family members. I know my grandparents and my mother would approve, as my family does. We recognize the growth in Green Cove Springs, and particularly District 5, and not everyone wants to live in a large, inclusive development such as Saratoga Springs and the projects of the old Gustavus Dairy area. What Pulte is offering is nice homes that aren't in one of these subdivisions. Pulte has been considerate of the neighbors, and I recognize that there have been many areas of concern, but Pulte has addressed those concerns. They redesigned Goodrich Estates from the initial plan, lowering the number of homes. They've contacted residents to discuss and answer questions. They've addressed the traffic concerns by incorporating turn lane at 315A and 16. They held town hall residential meetings. I understand the concern for the growth in the area, but this residential subdivision that Pulte is proposing is not going to keep anybody from growing their crops. It's not going to keep anybody from having a pig or a cow or chickens. And the traffic concerns have been addressed. And if this project is not a good fit for the area, neither is Saratoga Springs or any of the other residential areas popping up. Again, the rezoning project is important to my family, and I'm asking you, the Planning Committee, to vote to rezone our properties. Thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Copeland. Mr. Colley. Then we have Tommy Hammond.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Harry Colley. I live at 3859 County Road 315. That's, my son and I both live on 6 acres there. That's the little square that's kind of surrounded by Pulte, the Pulte property, or proposed Pulte property. I did not grow up living around here. My dad was in the Navy. When we finally moved back close enough to grow up, while growing up, we've spent a lot of time, as my sister said, spent a lot of time around here. That was in 1960. We moved back to Jacksonville. Roads were 315A and 315 were dirt roads back then. I don't know if anybody else in this room remembers that, but I can remember when they were dirt roads. I moved back here with my wife and 2 sons 1993. Since then, we've watched, I think it's the Reinhold property across from me. Again, I live right on 315. It is now a PUD. I believe somebody said that there's an industrial development right behind that to the west of me. That's, I think somebody called it Peters something. We watched Magnolia Point West. We watched Saratoga Springs, Saratoga East, Saratoga Springs. All of those developments, I have not opposed any of them. And I don't oppose this. I am for this development. I went to Pulte's meeting in June because I had a concern about water flowing off of my property, because the water there flows from west to east. And my questions, basically I was told that they can't impede the water flowing off of my property onto this, what I guess is going to be Goodrich Estates. So they satisfy my concerns there. I know my grandfather, in probably 50 years ago, let the county dig a ditch along the backside of the 34 acres that is in part of this rezoning to drain Knowles Road. I think that probably dumps right into George Goodrich's backyard. And if there's an issue with it draining from there on down into Governor's Creek, then that's a county problem. That's not Pulte problem. Traffic. I can tell you, I live right on 315. It's gotten better since the Cathedral opened up. Aside from the pipeline they're putting in, it's definitely gotten better. And the proposed extension or annex, whatever it was called, is even going to make it better. So I don't think traffic's going to be a problem, as I think the engineer said. It's not going to be a problem. Drainage, if they'll address, the county will address the problem of getting the water off of the Goodrich property, I think we'll be okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Colley. Mr. Hammond, and then we have Sharon Bernard.
I'm Tommy Hammond. I don't need to speak.
Okay.
So you submitted a card, you just agree with some of the other speakers. Are you opposed to the development?
I'm not opposed to development. I'm for the development. I was going to speak to general runoff concerns. And all,
Okay,
but I'm
I
gonna
just
let
wanted to try to
I'm gonna let the
register.
engineers do that. I'm a civil engineer too. And
Okay.
I've heard a lot of the runoff stuff that's really not represented right, so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sharon Bernard, and then Marlene Strube, or Strobe. Okay, so you're saying against it? All right, thank you, Ms.
Hi, I'm Sharon Barnard. I live at 1937 State Road 16 West in Green Cove Springs. I live on a property that my family has lived on for more than 80 years. I was born and raised in Green Cove. My whole family, distant family, has lived here for many generations. I live about about a half a mile down from where 315A tees into Highway 16. I take that road probably a couple of times a day. It's one of my favorite places to drive because it's so beautiful. And I'm opposed to this rezoning. I was interested in the data that our engineer friend presented. It just doesn't sound like the same universe that I live on, because 16 in the mornings at 6 o'clock is crazy. You've already heard somebody talk about the fatal accident right in front of Clay High. My brother's a commercial crabber, and trying to pull his fishing boat out onto 16 in the morning, sometimes he has to wait 20 to 30 minutes because it's just solid traffic that time of day. So I don't know the time of day where they took their measurements. I know they did it at 3:15 and 16, but I'm just telling you that vastly underrepresents the amount of traffic on that road. But I know that's been spoken to ad nauseum. But I really think that we don't need one more subdivision on 315. We don't even know the impact of Saratoga Springs yet. And one more place to, carve up into concrete just doesn't make sense to me. That it's just going to add to the problems that we already have. And again, you've heard about all that, but I would just encourage you to say no to this proposal and allow us to retain some green spaces. I'm one of the emails that you got, and I know that sounds kind of sappy, but for me, it's a big deal when you drive down a road and you see a fox run across the road and deer all around. We need that. That's important. I think another subdivision in that place is going to completely change the character of the neighborhood. And yes, I do remember when it was dirt roads. I remember when 315A didn't even meet 315 because I rode my horse down there all the time. And like I say, this is area that we all grew up in. This is our home, and we just ask you to hold the line on further development in that area. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Sandra Donovan, and then we have Rose Knowles.
octogenarian get down here, okay?
That's quite all right.
Oh, gosh. Right. Sandra Donovan, 303 North Magnolia Avenue, Green Cove Springs, Florida. I too have been a resident here, came here as a young teacher, young, in 1965, and have watched this community just explode. And I'm writing to express just a strong opposition to the proposed rezoning of this multiple parcels located along County Road 315 between Knowles Road and County Road 315A. The applicant seeks to convert rural residential RR and agricultural AG to a planned unit development PUD for a 160 lot subdivision, representing a dramatic and, to me, inappropriate increase in density. Number one, I feel that it's incompatibility with our area character. This area, this corridor, is defined by acreage and farms, and the proposed 2.48 units per acre and reduced setbacks would replace this rural landscape with dense suburban development permanently, hear me, permanently altering the communities, and it's a community, just like Saratoga is. This is a community, altering the community's identity and just, to me, setting an undesirable precedent. Traffic and safety, well, I concur with everybody. County Road 315, I've been on it every morning, going to doctors in Gainesville, and it is crazy, just like everybody's talking about. It's, and when you put 160 new homes there, added daily trips, combined with limited shoulders, narrow curves, school bus routes, will extract this congestion, it will just raise it. And also, you've heard about the serious safety concerns on that road. Public services and environmental strain. The project, you've heard, is going to burden local schools, emergency services, stormwater systems. Shrinking setbacks and buffers will remove essential green space and increase runoff and flooding potential. Landfill, nobody's even talking about garbage, and it's filled up. Erosion of the comprehensive plan, and this is the one that really bugs me, because I've sat on comprehensive plan committees, for many times. It seems like we get one and then we just do away with it. The county's comprehensive plan exists to guide, as I thought, a balanced growth and protect rural areas from precisely this kind of encroachment. Yet with each rezoning that I see and that I've watched in the last, how many years, because I've told you almost my age, the plan loses meaning and it loses power. There's no sense having one. If the comprehensive plan can be continually amended or overridden to suit any individual person that comes up, why have it at all? Each exception weakens public confidence, undermines years of citizen input, erodes long-term vision meant to safeguard our county's integrity. I respectfully urge you guys to deny this rezoning request, uphold the rural residential and agricultural classifications, and protect the intent of the comprehensive plan, maintaining the safety and the character of County Road 315, and preserve the rural heritage that these people have been talking about. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you, Ms. Donovan. Rose Knowles, and then we have H.M. Knowles.
Hi, my name is Rose Knowles. My address is 2098 Knowles Road. I'm on the corner of 315A and Knowles Road. I don't have a problem with anyone selling their land. Your car, your dog, whatever you want to sell, as long as it's legal and moral. However, I believe the realtor assisting the seller in this particular situation is doing injustice to the seller. This land can already be sold under the existing zoning, which I believe allows 1 house per 5 acres. Yet the buyer the realtors found has no intention of following that. As Commissioner Compre said at a meeting very similar to this one, you get what you pay for. This buyer needs to find property that actually suits their goals rather than trying to change the character of the land after they purchase it. Commissioner Condon also said at that same meeting she is tired of people coming to her with stars in their eyes, asking for rezoning. So I have to ask, who would say yes to more houses? If you do, who are you representing? The residents who are asking for reasonable growth, or the developers pushing for more. We already have major developments underway that'll add, over 8,000 new homes to the area. Once they are completed, the county gets to maintain the new roads, et cetera, at the cost of the taxpayers. Once that concrete is poured, nothing will ever grow there again, and that is the real cost. Ask our school board employees if they see a benefit to more development. They're always in need of bus drivers. Ask our deputies if they want more residents without more support. According to the FDLE data in 2024, the deputy to resident ratio in this county is still below the state average. And this is just one more thing to consider before adding more residents. Ask the parents, family, and friends of the 18-year-old young man that was killed on the traffic accident in front of Clay High School Tuesday morning, October 21st. That's this year. We tried to tell this committee a year ago of this concern. The response, one of the responses was the bypass is going to alleviate the traffic. The bypass does not alleviate the school population. When I asked Google to advocate for reasonable growth and rezoning, what does Google say about this? One of the suggestions was to start a petition. So I did. If I bring you 100 signatures, or 101 signatures, or 1,000 signatures from people who share my concerns, shouldn't those in favor of rezoning be able to bring 101 or 1,001 signatures to support your decision to say yes? Finally, if you listen to the political candidates across Florida, many are now openly saying that our state is 15 to 20 years behind infrastructure. This is part of their campaign platforms. So why are we trying to accelerate growth when we can't even sustain what we already have? Let's protect what makes our community strong before it's gone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Knowles. H.M. Knowles, and then we have Susan Pasqua. I apologize if I mispronounce it.
Right. Y'all hang on the best you can. I'm gonna be all over the place a little bit. No offense to Mr. Schilling, and we get along well. We've talked a couple times.
Mr. Knowles, can you give us your name and address again, please, sir?
I'm Mr. Knowles, and I live at 315A and Knowles Road. It used to be Route 2 Box 66A. But this traffic survey, I believe it come from a Mary Kay salesperson, because they got lipstick all over this pig. He didn't mention the first accident or the first death that's happened at that intersection. The numbers that he put out at peak time, I don't know how many of y'all drive through that, but at peak time, that's 2.3 cars a minute down that road going south. For traffic to back up a quarter of a mile, 1,320 feet, that tells you how long it takes to get out on 16. Let's use his numbers, which I think is a little bit light, but that tells you how bad that intersection is. It backs up to Knowles Road all the time. And Lord help at the fair, or if they're selling anything out there at the fairgrounds or whatever, it just goes crazy in the whole place. So the 315A, we have a proposed turn lane that they're going to pick up the deal, or pick up the price for. They're doing a pretty good job on that. How long is that turn lane? 2.5 cars? Because I'm telling you, traffic backs up quarter of a mile. I'll get you a cold bottle of water. We'll go sit out there and watch. I'd like to be straightened out if I'm wrong. The next thing, we don't need these houses. We have plenty of houses that's coming online now. I go by that property, it's right down the road from mine, and I keep looking. There's not people sleeping out there in them trees or building tree houses. It's not like we need to take care of people. This land can sit just the way it is. The next thing, if the sheriff was here or the fire chief was here, would they say that, oh, we have plenty of funding? Hell, we can stand plenty more people. We don't have any problems. Michelle Cook come to the Cattlemen's Association meeting the other night and said the average age of a deputy is 22 years old. She said, we're going to make mistakes. She's very honest about it. And I support her. I don't know her that well, but because she come to us and told us this, I work with her. So the average age is 22 years old. If you got two deputies 40, Do you know how many 20-year-olds it takes to offset that, to make the average age 22? And it's because Clay County doesn't pay that much, doesn't pay enough for the deputies and all. So I think we got enough people right now. These people just trying to make a living. There's two kind of people in this room. People that gonna make money on this deal, and the rest of us is gonna be stuck with it. There's not a right and wrong, but I'd like to see these other houses filled up. The next thing, they got 160 houses. They got only about 100 students. They gonna move a bunch of old people in, evidently. I think there'll be more students than that hit the school. I don't know how they can predict who's gonna buy the houses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knowles. Susan, and then we have Mark Williman.
Yes, hi, I'm Susan Pasquale, but my maiden name is Sellers. I grew up here in Green Cove Springs, right off of Wilkes Point. I live in Magnolia Point now, bought my first house in there in 2001, but I grew up in a single wide trailer, then my parents graduated to a double wide trailer down here on Wilkes Point, so I've been here forever. I am very opposed to this. I went to Charles E. Bennett and all the schools around here, and I would love to highlight, because my husband works in the financial sector and I'm a doctor in oncology, but I'd like to congratulate Pulte Homes for your stock being $119.64 today. So your net worth is $23.32 billion today. And I noticed it was very convenient on your graphic there that you left off Highway 17, because that's where all the traffic really is. There's not a lot of jobs off of State Road 16. Yeah, there's some, but the overwhelming majority of people drive on Highway 17 to go to Jacksonville. They go to NES Jax. A lot of them are civilian employees, that kind of thing. So I see it and I sit in it. So I noticed you guys were very easy and conveniently left off Highway 17 and all the traffic there. Also, the Black Creek Bridge. I grew up here. I'm from here. That Black Creek Bridge, the only thing that's been done on it is just inspections. And then somehow they got some few $1 million to put a bike path on one side of it. And there's literally maybe one person a week I see when I drive on there. But that bridge needs to be expanded. Highway 17 hasn't been expanded. I'm really happy to see that you're willing to contribute to add a different turn lane on Highway 16 and 315. Very interesting. Most of the employers are north on Highway 17 primarily, and I'm also stunned, because I grew up here forever, that all of these homes are being built around Rosemary Hill Dump, because I remember when Rice Creek and all those creeks and the land was really, really toxic, and now we've got a lot of homes going in around there. It's just really stunning to me, because I remember all of that stuff. So I want to congratulate you again on your stock price today, but I think you could do a little bit more to help with expanding the roads besides just a turn lane there. And that's it. So I'm opposed to it, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pasquale. Mark Williman, and then Serena Williman.
Good evening. My name is Mark Williman. I live at 2016 Knowles Road. And I want to talk about the concerns that affects all of us who live and work in Green Cove Springs. The pace of the development and the strains it's putting on our infrastructure is particularly near State Road 16, County Road 315, and 315A. These areas are already seeing heavy traffic and frequent congestion and growing safety concerns. The roads were never designed to handle the kind of volume we are seeing today, let alone the additional traffic that would come from these new housing developments and commercial projects being proposed. Every morning and every evening, we see bottlenecks, long wait times at intersections, and near misses that just show us how overburdened these areas and routes have become. Beyond traffic, our water, sewer, and drainage systems in this part of town are under pressure. When we add these more developments without upgrading the infrastructure first, we risk flooding issues, reduced water pressure, and costly repairs down the line, all which taxpayers ultimately end up paying for. I'm not against the growth. Growth can bring opportunity, but it must be responsible growth, guided by data, planning, and investment in roads, utilities, public safety. Before we add more residents and businesses, we owe it to our community to make sure progress doesn't come at the expense of quality of life. So I urge city and county leaders to take a hard look at the current conditions on State Road 16, County Road 315 and 315A. Commit to strengthening the infrastructure before approving for further or future large-scale developments. Let's build smarter, not faster, for the sake of Green Cove Springs' future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williman. Serena Williman. And then we have Melissa Smith.
My name is Serena Wilmon. I live at 2016 Knowles Road, Green Cove Springs, Florida. And I want to take a moment to remind us of the history that makes Green Cove Springs so special and why we need to protect it from overdevelopment. Green Cove Springs began as a small town along the St. Johns River. People once traveled here to visit our spring, a natural wonder that gave our town its name and it built its identity. For generations, this community grew slowly and intentionally, shaped by hard work, local pride, and respect for nature. But lately, that balance is at risk. Developers are pushing to build more and more houses. And while growth may sound good on paper, we need to think about what it really means for our town, especially for our schools. Our high school is already feeling the strain. More housing means more families, and more families mean more students. Class sizes will grow, teachers will be stretched thinner, and resources that are already limited will have to be divided even further. When schools are overcrowded, students don't get the attention that they need to succeed, and our teachers burn out faster. I noticed that they planned on sending some of the kids to Fleming Island. Where are these buses at that are going to be taking them there? And if the buses are taking them there, that's going to take a lot longer. Students are going to be taking hour trips to get to school instead of 10 minutes. Beyond the school walls, more construction means more traffic, more noise, and more pressure on local roads and utilities. The small town charm that makes Green Cove Springs unique, the same charm that draws people here in the first place, will begin to disappear. If we keep building without thinking, we'll lose the very character that defines us. Green Cove Springs isn't just another spot on a map. It's a piece of Florida history, a place where people know their neighbors, where students grow up surrounded by both nature and community values. Let's honor that history by protecting it. Let's say no to unchecked development and yes to smart, sustainable growth. Growth that strengthens our schools, not overwhelms them. Together we can make a change and make sure that Green Cove Springs remains a place where our history lives on, not buried beneath another subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williman. Melissa Smith, and then we have Chris Pippin.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Smith. I reside at 2135 Compound Lane, Middleburg, Florida. I'm here today to give my opposition to item 2 of today's agenda. I think it's pretty clear that most of residents of Green Cove Springs, Middleburg, Penny Farms, and Keystone Heights have decided to live within these communities to live in a more rural setting. Most of us have purchased homes and land here with those intentions. So how is it just that real estate developers can come in and change the entire face of a community in the name of money and property rights when the residents that reside here do not want it? Although these developers or even the commissioners may not see it through the lack of the amount of people that sometimes do not show up to these meetings, people do have other things going on in their lives. Some don't even realize what is happening until the decision has already been made, or some just may not know what to do. We can't be here every week to fight development. I assure you that the amount of outcries all over social media, most residents are in opposition to all this overdevelopment. We are not talking about one person or even a family purchasing land to maybe build one home and keep this royal setting. We are talking about a ridiculous amount of new homes. We already have more than enough new homes being built that we are already unhappy about. Will the developers be residing at these properties? Are these developers even residents of Clay County? Most likely not. Therefore, they do not have to deal with the mess that they have created, not only forcing residents to live in an entirely different type of community, but forces residents to fight more traffic, send their kids to overcrowded schools, having resources stretched too thin, longer wait times at the DMV and other government facilities, and everything else that comes with overdevelopment, such as flooding, erosion issues, more wildlife encounters from wildlife displacement, water pollution. And when we talk about property rights, when are we going to start considering the other living creatures that have made the property their home? When will they have rights? When there's absolutely nothing left? We're already headed that way. It needs to stop. Change needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. Most Floridians, it appears, as a whole, are fed up with this, which brings me to wetlands. It is my understanding that one of the proposed parcels have wetlands on them. I know I have said this before during these meetings, but please let me remind you that wetlands are vital for clean water, flooding, and erosion control, and crucially important for our wildlife and native plant life. In my opinion, it is completely unacceptable to develop wetlands. Therefore, I respectfully ask that you deny the rezoning application for these parcels and plead with you to not allow any more unsustainable growth, especially green lands, like green spaces. Please do the right thing. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Chris Pippin, and Ryan Worthington.
Hello, my name is Chris Pippin. I live at 1232 Lions Den. I don't know if you can pull a better picture of the property up. My concern is the north end of that property on the opposite side of 315A. I lived right beside there for 10 years, and that property I've always told was the old dump. Before the Rosemary right down the road, they filled that up and they moved it down there. If you show me on there, I can show you a little area. It's slap full. The river, the creek right there, when it rains and the bank washes out, it's bottles probably 30 feet high as you can. Anybody could walk through there and see this. I'm not making it up. I mean, I'm not gaining anything from being here, so. And I only know of that one section. It was right there on the other side of 315A. But I was always told by Irvin Goodrich, which is Ken, and another guy that lived on that property, it was the old dump. Y'all have the record to probably be able to find that out, but I just know, like somebody said earlier, kids will be kids. Fence ain't gonna keep kids out from, there's thousands and thousands of bottles everywhere as you can see. Definitely a concern, but I say no, I'm tired of seeing all the development as well.
Thank you, Mr. Pippin. Ryan Worthington, and then we have Robert McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. Ryan Worthington, 5665 Sharon Road, Green Cove Springs, Florida. I'm a Clay County native, and I oppose the zoning change to the parcel along 315A. There are thousands of homes already approved within a 3.5-mile radius. This development does not meet any kind of demand or need for housing. Although the development meets currency for schools, there's noticeably none at Clay High, and students will have to be bused to Fleming Island or further away, which does not make sense. I drive along 315 twice daily as part of my commute, and I have not noticed any of the reductions stated in the figures mentioned in the presentation. However, those are short-lived. As the approved housing for the mega developments is built, those alleged reductions in traffic are simply going to evaporate. All right, we're not going to see. You're going to see the traffic at Black Creek is going to get worse. It already looks more like Blanding Boulevard than Green Cove. I mentioned, it was also mentioned that the development at 315 would have a service level of D when it comes to traffic, and that means that the roadways are operating at near capacity, and if you look at the definition, it has a number of complications to drivers, so it's not a positive thing. I've stated that the development is unnecessary. We've already lost much of our the characteristics of Clay County to urban sprawl. That means you know, old landmarks, World War II runways, you name it. It's just the urban sprawl is just swept across the county, and it's just looking cookie cutter. you know, we're erasing every aspect that gives Clay County its character. Does it really appear that reducing the development by a few houses has addressed the concerns of the community? I mean, outside of those that would benefit financially from this zoning change, there's almost no support here in this room. Please vote no.
Thank you, Mr. Worthington. Mr. McCormick, did you want to speak, or are you just voicing your vote? Okay, thank you, Mr. McCormick. He's saying he's against it. Laura McCormick? Thank you, Ms. McCormick. Megan Rhodes, and then Helena Cormiel. Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. And Helena Cormier.
Hello, my name is Helena Cormier. My address is 2839 Woodbridge Crossing Court, Green Cove Springs, Florida. I just want to say thank you again for everything that y'all are doing and the decisions that y'all make. And I know that it is not easy sitting in there and trying to make these decisions. There's a lot of information that's been presented tonight. And, you know, we can continue reiterating many different aspects. But one of the things that I've heard that I don't know if y'all know, I live out there in the ridge off of Sandridge, and some of the construction with the toll road and some of the different retention ponds that are out there have caused one of the homeowners that I do know that had a blueberry farm and had a pond in his yard that would help water his blueberry pond area. So you would see you pick blueberries. And he shared with me he's not had the crops that he's had the past few years. And if anybody's driven by the area, you don't see the sign, you pick blueberries. And, you know, so as I hear the different residents that do have the farmlands and do have the crops and do have the agriculture, and you hear the other residents that say, or the homeowners say that it's not going to affect them, they're still going to be able to do it. I promise you, you can't guarantee that. And this truly is a hard one to understand or to even put in play. And you won't know the effects of this one until after. And so, you know, I respect development. I respect commercial development. I respect doing things properly and doing things with as much education as y'all can do and taking all of these into count as y'all are making these decisions. I get it. It's difficult, but it really does have other effects that we may not take into consideration. And so I will continue praying for y'all as y'all make these decisions. And I do understand that these homeowners do have a right to sell their property and, you know, be able to do the things that they're doing, but it doesn't mean that the buyer needs to be somebody who's going to, you know, change that rezoning and it affect the other residents that have a right to their agriculture. So again, I will pray for y'all and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier. That's all the cards I have. Does anybody else want to speak on this agenda item? Yes, sir. Did you fill out a card?
No, sir, I did not. I come in late. It's the first time I've ever been to one of y'all's meetings.
All right.
But I would just like to say I'm Russell Smith.
Hold on a second. Did you take the oath?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm Russell Smith. I reside at 3873 County Road 315A. We border Mr. Knowles' farm, and I can say that I was raised here my whole life. I've seen this county government. It was a great place to be raised. A lot of friends, the older people, J.P. Hall, Jennings Marie, the people that run this county years and years ago, they were great people. They suppressed growth in Clay County. I have to say that my mother and father are still alive. They live right there on the farm with us. And, you know, my sisters, we raise animals there. And most of the people around us raise animals. Everybody's pretty private people there. And they're all real good people. And just concerned with the dump. I clean up bags and bags of garbage every week out in front of our house. It was never like that. When I was a kid, You know, at this time of year, you would see your neighbor going by with a shotgun on his back, and we'd all hunt the woods out there, and all the way to Peters Creek to Go Hagen's place. But anyhow, the dump is really massively taking a toll on our roads. That's all I see: garbage truck everywhere, come in and out, and steadily cleaning up garbage. My mother and father are strongly opposed to the growth and what's going on here, and I just would ask you guys to reach in your heart and, you know, deny this right here, what's going on. We love our farms, we love our neighbors and our people, and that's kind of just what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, sir.
Can I say something as a citizen?
Yes.
Brian Marcy's, 1699 Shed Road. My brother-in-law, sister-in-law are still having issues with flooding due to Mag West. So take that in consideration. That was done years ago. And my brother-in-law's pond was crystal clear and was spring-fed, and now it's junk. So take that in consideration due to my fellow commissioner or CAC members' pond. Also, I know some of you guys are service members up there. Take into consideration our seal right here. A gentleman during our meeting looked at our seal and said, if we don't protect what we have now, that seal is going to turn into cookie cutter homes and U-Hauls. It's not going to be the river and the trees and stuff like that. So we got to protect what we have now. And if we don't, we're not going to be Green Cove Springs. We're not going to be Clay County, what we all are trying to be here. And I get what they're trying to do, but someone came up here and said, if we can do 5 acres per house, that's what we should do. I mean, that's what we try to do in the property next door to us, and that we've canceled them, or not canceled them, but we've stopped them twice. So not just vote no. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak that has not? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and would the applicant like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Again, Garrett Queener with Pulte Homes. Can you all hear me okay on the microphone? I'd like to first say thank you to everybody for being here. Again, this has been continued turnout from the community. Obviously differences of opinion here and kind of how we think this should progress forward, but I do think the conversation is important, so you all being here is appreciated. I'd also like to acknowledge the traffic accident and, you know, understand that that's a sensitive subject, and we're trying to proceed with, you know, looking at the data as respectfully as we can, just in reference to that. So I'll try and work through a little bit of what we talked about here. First and foremost, I think, Dodie, is it possible to put the slides back up on the screen? That's okay if not.
I can't.
Okay. Okay. I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that we're not here to argue the experiences of what this area has been in the past. I do think, however, respectfully, that there is a reality that's coming to this area that's been in the making for probably about 20 years with the expressway that's opened up. There's been a lot of reference to Peters Creek Business Park and that PUD that is directly across the street from this project, which directly across 315 from this project, there are 227 residential units which are approved as part of that PUD. That PUD was approved in 2006, and its conditions for it to begin were the opening of the First Coast Expressway and the opening of Cathedral Oaks. You heard Mr. Smith, your county engineer, talk to you about how essentially that business plan could be moving forward at, you know, here in the near future. So between that and, you know, ultimately Saratoga Springs to our north, Cathedral Oaks Parkway, the First Coast Expressway, you know, lots of commercial opportunities and jobs coming just to the west of this project, plus additional entitled residential I think it's clear from a planning perspective that this area, as Dodie noted in her staff report, is transitioning from this kind of rural area to a more suburban area. Additionally, I would note that the properties adjacent to the property that we're discussing today are residential in nature. You know, speaking to the direct neighbors, you know, particularly Mr. Goodrich and Ms. Middleton, I appreciate their input throughout this process. We did make some conscientious changes to the site plan to try and address them based off the correspondence that we had with them over, you know, the several months prior to being here with y'all. I think in reference to the pond, you know, Ms. Middleton had concerns about that pond, her spring-fed pond, that is, at the last hearing, and we conscientiously moved that larger pond on the boundary of our property to the middle of our property, and have worked with our drainage team to route that drainage away from her property. The Goodriches, who are neighbors as well to the east of our property, mentioned you know, drainage as well. I think Bill will speak a little bit towards the county drainage ditch that's currently on their property and how we're actually going to be relocating that to alleviate that from their site, or property, I should say. And additionally, with the Goodriches too, we made a conscious effort on the site plan to make that area next to their house, not homes, but open space park. And there is a small pond there, which we do need for outfall purposes up near County Road 315. I think, you know, the large majority of the commentary that we heard today was pertaining to traffic. Bill represented, you know, based on the actual data that we have gone and collected, that based on the two improvements opening, Cathedral Oaks and the First Coast Expressway, in the past year since we've been here, there is a bona fide, verifiable reduction in traffic on County Road 315. Further from that, you heard from Mr. Smith the plans for Clay Dairy Parkway and the realignment of County Road 315. Which are bound by zoning documents from two, you know, prospective developers and business managers. And that plan is in place and moving forward. So 315, again, right now your hearing has traffic issues at that intersection where people are acknowledging delays and safety issues. We believe we are coming to the table today with a solution to mitigate a problem that exists with or without our project with this right turn lane. I'm going to have Bill explain a little bit about why that turn lane is beneficial. It is on the county's capital improvement plan. And again, we are proposing to accelerate that project, which would not otherwise be completed until about 2035. Let's see what else we got here. I think, you know, schools, there's a lot of conversation about schools. We as the developer are obligated to go to the school board to obtain our concurrency certificate. That is the process we are to follow. It's my understanding that we have done that to the best of our abilities. As far as the attended schools, you know, where students would actually go for this project, we do have reservations at certain schools, but it's also my understanding that, you know, as seats kind of change and new schools come online or there are improvements made, that those things could shift depending on when the actual students are, you know, coming to the school system. I believe Mr. Bennett could, you know, speak to that if you would choose to do so. But one other thing I would note, and then I'll kind of turn it over to Bill to address traffic here, is that there's a lot of talk about these larger projects, right? So we're talking about 160 units, but in the same vein as these larger projects, these are not projects that come online overnight. Saratoga Springs is not dropping their 4,000 units on the ground tomorrow morning. These are projects that slowly come online. These are projects that the larger ones particularly that are in these, you know, PUDs with development agreements have obligations to contribute infrastructure improvements as they come online. They are obligated to pay mobility fees just as we are to mitigate effects of traffic on roadways specific to the area that you are in. As well as impact fees to help with school, law enforcement, fire, all the things that you heard about today. So respectfully, you know, we do hear the community commentary. We put our best foot forward trying to meet in the middle here. I understand there's a difference of opinion, but, you know, we've increased buffers. We've adjusted the site plan. We're bringing a turn lane with us here today. We've reduced unit count by 25%. We have increased lot widths, reduced the overall density, doubled our park space, which is more than 10 times the county requirement. And additionally, you know, we feel like we're putting our best foot forward and keeping that dialogue open between ourselves, the residents, and the county. So Bill, if you wouldn't mind, I'll turn it over to you to talk a little bit about the turn lane. Thank you.
Chair, I have a question before he leaves.
Hang on a sec.
We never addressed the RB question.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Mark, do you want to answer that?
I looked it up, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
Yes, sir. If you looked it up, you'll notice that it actually says 15 feet in the
Yeah.
rear. So we would happily change that, but in our program, in our site plan, you'll see that about 75% of the lots back up to our buffers and the perimeter. And so only about 30 of our lots are back to back, and those are all internal. The 30 and 20-foot buffers add to whatever rear yard setback we have. So on those 75%, 80% of the lots, it would be 30 or 40 setback from the actual property line of this project. But we're happy to make that change.
I make one comment about that. As long as the homeowners are painfully aware, they can't touch that buffer.
It's gonna be a separate tract.
Right, but
It's not part of their property.
you know, they see it, they want to clear the underbrush, they want to do something. The other thing is, you've got your side setbacks at 5 feet. RB is 7.5, so that's been reduced. And the maximum lot coverage is 60% in your plan, and in RB it's 30%. So you're gonna have a lot bigger houses on these lots.
so just, I'm not positive on everything that you said there, just because I want to just kind of address what we're doing here. But so the plan is we have our 60-foot wide lots, which I mentioned that we did increase last time between the 40s, 50s, and 60s that we had. We now have all 60s. But typically, when, we would go as Pulte to develop a 60-foot lot, you may have a width of 120 or 130 or whatever that looks like. But, the house that we would offer in this neighborhood would probably likely be a couple of options, but ranging width-wise probably from about a 40-foot wide product to a 50-foot wide product, which is where that 5-foot side yard setback would come in. And then in terms of depth, the pad typically that we would go in and grade would probably be about a maximum of 70 feet. So that would encompass the house and any further options that, a homeowner may choose to implement. So realistically, not just kind of looking at this from a textbook perspective, if you will, realistically, the house that you're probably going to see out there is somewhere in the neighborhood of like a 40-foot by 70-foot deep home or a 50-foot by 70-foot deep home. That's the best way I could answer your question in terms of how it would more fit our site rather than just kind of the language.
That's fine, thank you.
Get to the site plan here. I'll take 1 second before I go back to traffic to talk about drainage, because there were a couple good questions there that I do want to share the logic on the drainage. Certainly, we're not to the point where we have a full set of civil engineering plans completed and ready to go, but we have been looking at the drainage patterns. I know from what we've heard from the Goodriches, our adjacent neighbors to the east, we have changed our approach to stormwater. So a couple things to share on stormwater. One is we are addressing stormwater with on-site ponds. Originally, we had fewer larger ponds, and we've now gone to more distributed ponds. We now have 4 ponds, and we no longer have the large pond running along our eastern boundary adjacent to the Goodriches, again, in part because of the concerns that we heard. So we listened to those concerns, distributed the ponds. I will also share that this stormwater system, because of timing, is going to be designed and required to meet the new stormwater regulations that are taking effect next month with the St. Johns River Water Management District, that will also include addressing nutrient loading in this water. So a couple of things, and it's been referred to. So there is a ditch that runs from Knowles Road across eastern portions of our property along the edge, and then onto the Goodrich property. We are anticipating right now that this is hard to describe without a pointer, but on the south side of 315A, our pond on the east side right next to the road, We are anticipating we're going to be routing the water to that pond, and that will be our outfall. So right now, we believe that we are actually going to be taking water away from the ditch that runs across the Goodrich property. Is our plan and what we're expecting to do. So right now, we believe that we are actually going to improve the stormwater conditions on the adjacent Goodrich property. So I wanted to share that, and then let me jump back over to answer a couple of the questions. Okay, so on the southbound right turn lane, I did look. So right now we are proposing that the full width, or 12 feet of new lane, will be approximately 150 feet long. So essentially, we assume about 20 to 25 feet a car, so that will store roughly 6 to 7 vehicles, and then roughly another 50-foot taper. So I did look at our preliminary design, and that's what we're proposing. The other reason why we believe that this will be such a significant improvement to the intersection is based on the counts, not only the counts from a year ago, but the most recent counts. It roughly 70% of the southbound traffic on 315 turns right. So a majority of that southbound traffic on 315 will be benefited by this turn lane. And right turning vehicles, when this is constructed, will not have to wait on a left turning vehicle to turn left before they can make a right. So we believe that that it will be a very, very significant improvement. And then the other one item, it feels like I had one item. Oh, yes, and I know that this was stated by Mr. Bement, but I know a couple other folks raised it again. So I just wanted to make it clear that the school concurrency evaluation and letter that was issued for this project is not based on charter schools and is not based on online schools. So I just want to make sure that's clear, and that that we do have a reservation for those students. So the notion that schools are overcrowded and there isn't space for these students, we do have a reservation and we do have space for these students. Those were the couple items I wanted to add. And the team is available for any questions, and look forward to your discussion. Thank you.
Questions, to the applicant? None? Thank you, sir. I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
I have some comments.
I got one question first. Mr. Behemoth?
Public comment.
Oh, sorry. Public hearing's closed. Yeah, I already did that. Where are you?
Sorry.
Recognizing that we got Saratoga Springs coming online and all these other developments coming up. Now, the reservation that they have for the schools, is that in concrete, or is these other developments come online? I guess what I'm getting at is, would their reservation change or go away or be modified? Or is it just, it is what it is?
The reservation is just that. It's a reservation for the seats. So this particular document is recorded in our system for the number of seats that the project would develop based on our student generation rates. So it's firm. As long as they go to final plat and start development before the expiration period, then they have these reservations. And once, of course, building continues or begins, then my job, among others, is to track the building of the homes and then subtract, as a number of home comes online and students are generated, I subtract those from the reservation. So it's an ongoing process, and this particular development, as well as Saratoga and any other development in Clay County, follows that same process.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Buckhaber.
I hope you guys aren't ready to go home yet. I'm just gonna go over a whole bunch of stuff. This was a long public hearing. I appreciate people being here. I do listen to everything. I appreciate the professionalism of the team from Pulte, but I'm gonna give the board here my thoughts on some of the stuff that we heard tonight. I'm gonna start off by saying there's a lot of concern about traffic. Traffic, as one of my other commissioners will probably point out to you, is not something we can make a decision on. And if that bothers people, I only suggest that you think about who you're sending to Tallahassee, because that's where that directive comes from. The flooding, the civil engineers have directions that they're supposed to handle the water on the property. I personally have heard enough anecdotal evidence that that doesn't always happen to concern me. But for purpose of this hearing, we'll have to assume that the guidelines, again, that's given by the water management in the state are adequate. So with that said, I'll move on to other things. People seem to define neighborhoods based on subdivisions. You know, the one that we're looking at here tonight, Saratoga Springs, Magnolia Point, whatever those subdivisions are. I don't use that definition for neighborhood. I don't live in one of those neighborhoods. I live in a neighborhood much like the one that is centered on Knowles Road and, is it Stauffer Road? Stauffer Road? Where these are old lots. People have been there a long time. They're larger lots, and there's a sense of community there. That is a neighborhood. With that in mind, the idea that that neighborhood is just simply going to go away at some point, I don't comport with that idea. And I think we have to recognize that that is a valid neighborhood, and we have to look at what we're putting next to that neighborhood. So with that in mind, we do have a lot of density in that area. It exists today, and there's going to be more coming in. It's already been approved. But there should be a transition, I believe, between existing neighborhoods of one density to neighborhoods of a different density. And you don't get that transition with this. You get a nice kind of rural character, you cross the street, and you got all these homes stacked on top of each other. So I don't believe that this project is a proper transition project. Because you take this property and you go to the north, yeah, you run into those subdivisions up there, some of which are in Green Cove Springs that we have no control over. But I think a much lower, keep in mind that you can't stop this property from being developed, but you can have some input on how it's developed. And I believe that it should be a better you know, one of those, I think at Saratoga Springs is talking about agri-hoods, you know, larger lots with some agriculture, that kind of thing. Something like that is much more appropriate as a transition from Knowles Road to what you have a little bit north of that. You got 315 across that, you're gonna have development, but 315 acts as kind of a border. Same thing with State Road 16, you know. So I took a lot of notes during that. My main thing is that I don't think this is a proper transition. This property could easily be developed at a lower density. I think it would be just as profitable, and I've seen evidence of that in my own neighborhood, where a developer wanted to jam houses in. They were not allowed to do that, and the developer actually made more money with less houses. So it's not just about the money, it's about a state of mind about doing that. Somebody said, you know, we saw this a year ago, and I did not like it then, and I haven't seen a lot of change from last year to this year. Somebody made the comment that a bad proposal, you can't make it less bad. I would take more of the opinion that when you have a proposal, if you don't think it's a good proposal, you have to say no, because you can tell someone no 100 times, but you only get to tell them yes once, and it's done. I think there's more work required at this. There is a character of that neighborhood there along Knowles Road, which has existed for decades or longer. And I don't want to go over everything I have here. We've talked about some of it. But I did want to point out a couple of things in the staff report. As you guys know, there's a criteria that staff goes through and evaluates as to whether they're going to support a project or not. I think it's very, very important that we understand that in most cases, these are subjective comments, not objective. And I'm just going to mention a few of them. One is that you know, in one of these, it talks about significant amounts of urban development to accrual in rural areas that the staff was finding that properties located in area transitioning from rural to suburban character and is in close proximity to existing services, and that these are undeveloped lands that are available for suitable development. I agree with that statement. I don't agree with what probably staff sees as suitable. I don't think this project is suitable. Something less dense is suitable. That's an objective position. I mean, a subjective position. I think it says it promotes or allows urban development and strip or ribbon patterns. The staff says it doesn't create a strip. I think that depends on how you look at that map. You got Knowles Road, you got a couple other large lots in there that are going to stay. So again, subjective. One of the findings was that it, or the question is, fails to adequately protect and conserve natural resources. Staff, future development of the parcels will be required to ensure no natural systems are negatively impacted by the development. How? You know, that's a statement, but how? Are you going to make them keep all the trees? No, because they're going to clear cut that land. And they're going to bring in a lot of fill and build it up to build those houses. So I disagree with that statement. Fails to adequately protect adjacent agricultural areas. Staff says there's no immediate agriculture areas. I heard at least 10 people talk about using their property for agricultural purposes. I'm not even sure that's a correct statement. I already mentioned about the transition areas. And the other one that it's kind of been mentioned vaguely, but have conditions changed since the property was originally zoned? Yes. Have they changed to the point that we need this project? I think no. The staff response was the rezoning applications in response to a changing housing market conditions, which have created greater demand for residential home sites that can be provided under the present zoning designations. There are 40,000 approved homes within just a few miles of this site. 40,000. So to say that there's not enough home sites doesn't jive with reality. And it says whether the affected property can be used in accordance with existing zoning. It can be used for allowed residential use, but the allowed density limit is no longer the highest and best use. I will point out that according to one of the professors at the University of Florida, who taught me a course on planning, made it crystal clear, highest and best use is a real estate term, it is not a planning term. Planning is about compatibility, best use of the land, surrounding areas, and making things blend in. Highest and best use, as soon as you hear that, you're talking to somebody that's in the real estate business. Split zoning. I think that's all I'm gonna say. And let it go at that. I'm probably in the minority here, but I do not think this is the proper place for this project. I'm sorry.
Other comments?
I didn't come down here to just listen to Ralph. As Mr. Knowles asked for some forgiveness in the sense of wandering around, so bear with me. I too took a lot of notes during this. And so I'm going to try to cover as many of those as possible as quickly as I can. I always want to start, though, when the room's full like this, to thank you guys for showing up. I don't know if some of y'all have been here before and heard me say this. I started sitting right out there concerned about my community, got involved in the CAC, so this gentleman took that advice and got involved in his CAC. And so good for you for being here, and most especially to the young lady. I don't want to assume that she's a high school student, but she came across as a high school or college student. God bless you. You are the future, and I know that sounds corny and all that, but look at everybody else in here with our gray hair and our wrinkles. Good for you for being here, and I hope that years in the future you'll continue your advocacy and be prepared to be frustrated. You're not always going to get your way, so to speak. Somebody mentioned something about the purpose of what the comprehensive plan, I think was the phrase they used. So let me just read what the purpose of the future land use element is. Bear with me, just read a couple sentences here. The purpose of the future land use element is to examine the existing land uses and to determine present and future land use needs, such as the amount of land needed to accommodate future growth and development. Growth can take many forms: more people, more homes, more job opportunities, higher standards of living, more traffic, and so on. This element is concerned primarily with Clay County's spatial growth, that is the increased use and the mix of uses of land for urban activities. So that's the purpose of the comp plan. It's not a static plan that once it's put in place, it can never be changed. It has to evolve, just like our population. And this is another broken record thing for me. Ralph has his, I have mine. It's population. A gentleman mentioned that he was here in 1965, I think, or something along those lines. Anybody want to just think for 1 second what the population in Clay County was in 1965?
About 25,000.
That's exactly what it was, 25,000. Today, it's more like 245,000. That's a tenfold increase. Do you think the people in 1965 had any idea that this is the kind of growth that we could expect? Just to move forward a little bit, from 65 to 75, it doubled. Went from 25,000 to 50,000. In 2000, it was 140,000 people. 2020, just 5 years ago, it was 220,000. Now we're at 245,000, projected to be 285,000 in another 20 years. So the idea that we don't need this growth or these number of people, we have this reality. And let me just say too, I never want to come across as disrespectful or patronizing or anything like that. I'm an open book. I've fed my family for my whole adult life in the development industry, started out as a carpenter and have moved on up through the industry. I take a lot of pride in being in the development industry, so sometimes some of the comments maybe strike a nerve. I don't hear people complaining about the success of grocery stores while they're buying groceries, but they complain about developers making money, putting a roof over their head. I never want to come across as disrespectful or patronizing, but there is a reality. We have gone from 50,000 or 25,000 people in 1965 to 245,000 people. Those people have to live somewhere. You have two choices. You're either going to put them in densely apartment complexes, that sort of thing. You're going to have high density, or you're going to have 1 per 5 acres, which is sprawl. And so which one do you want? You can't have them both. There's obviously, the correct answer is a mix of those things. You have affordability issues. You can't afford to put 245,000 people on a 5-acre tract. You can't do it. So there has to be some density. Most of us live in some sort of development. I don't. I'm like Ralph. I live out in the boonies and love it, and know at one point in my life, as they're 4-laning these roads, it's not going to be the same as it is now. And again, I'm hopping around a little bit. I heard another phrase I love: mourn the loss of what was. And that's where the emotion comes into it. We're mourning the loss of the space for the animals, for our neighbors, for our pigs and chickens and that sort of stuff, and I've had all of that. So that's the emotional part of it. We have to enter into a logical thing, and you get this rub of emotion and logic. So again, just that's where we're at. There's no right or wrong. That was another phrase I heard. Nobody's right or wrong here. This is the reality of the situation. These folks have a piece of property, they're trying to sell it, and somebody wants to buy it and turn it into a subdivision. I disagree with Ralph on the, Commissioner Puckhaber, on the transition piece. It is a suitable transition to me. The other developments in that vicinity are 40-foot lots. A lot of them are 40. These guys have 60-foot lots. It's inside the Beltway. I hate to say it, but that Beltway, multi-billion-dollar investment, and if you've taken the time to get on the interstate and drive down it, look at what's happening. They are clear-cutting. It is being developed. That's why they put the interstate there. It's been in the works for 30-plus years. Here it is. We're going to have to live with it, like it or not. The other thing I'll just say quickly, nobody just goes and throws up a subdivision for the heck of it. These people are business people. They've done a tremendous amount of market research, and they know that they'll be able to sell their houses, or they hope that they can sell the houses. So this is not just, somebody used the phrase building without thinking. I promise you, Pulte, pick your builder, Beret, Higginbotham, nobody builds without thinking. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. So I'm going to kind of move into some of the regulation related to it. The concern of water. We'll just skip traffic. Everybody acknowledges traffic's a hot mess. They're doing the best they can with it. I love the idea that they're going to give a turn lane there. Is it enough? Probably not. I deal with that at 218. We back up, light turns, you move up, light turns, you move up until finally you get to go where you're going. So traffic is what it is. Water is one of the most regulated resources in this state. You cannot, and the engineers here, I don't know if you drag him back up here to comment on it, when you put in a development, you can't move the water somewhere else. It has to be managed on that piece of property. Do mistakes happen? Absolutely. But if you pick up the phone and you call the county, somebody's going to come out there and somebody's going to get in trouble. Been there, done that. You do not want to have a drainage problem and have the county or the state or St. Johns River Water Management on your case about it. So again, I never want to be dismissive. I truly am not. But we have to, in my opinion, you have to kind of balance the need with what's happening here. And this is a densely, it's a growing area. Let me check my notes here real quick. Conservation. I did a little searching while I was here, and I hope I'm sort of accurate. Came off the internet. It's got to be right. 59,000 acres of conservation land in Clay County. 59,000 out of 387,000 acres of land. That's approximately 15% of Clay County is in some level of conservation. So anyway, I just let that go. I'll come back to that in just a second. We don't need the houses. I looked that up as well. You can go to the NEFAR website, and currently Clay County has a 1,200 home inventory, which is about 5.3 months of inventory. Healthy inventory is considered 5 to 6 months, so we're right in the middle of it in terms of our inventory. Again, these companies don't come invest this money and think and plan to lose money. They know somebody's going to come buy these houses. Affordability becomes an issue. These numbers will probably surprise you. The median home price in Clay County, so half the homes are more expensive, half are less expensive. So right in the middle, $362,000 to buy a home in Clay County right now. I know I built a home, 6, 7, 8 years ago and paid a heck of a lot less than that, and it has gone up. So anyway, just want to share that number with you. I did also think that it was a good comment that this development, though it is going to be, if it happens, and there's no, we're just advising the Board of County Commissioners, and we haven't taken our vote yet what we're going to advise them as a body. So the Board of County Commissioners is the one that has the pleasure of making this decision, and Helena, you need to pray for them too. But if this thing moves forward, those people who have property there, there's no doubt you're going to be impacted by it, but nobody's coming into your property. You still have the right to do whatever it is you're doing. And again, I don't know, I probably do seem a little dismissive. I do not intend that at all. I just think that faced with the reality of the population growth, you just had a tremendous investment with this outer beltway connecting I-10 eventually to I-95. Just try to imagine what Mandarin looked like before they put the Buckman Bridge and put 295. It looked just like Clay County. Now look at it. And that's where we're headed. Whether we like it or we don't like it, that's where we're headed. So let's see what else. Cost of the taxpayers, that's often, a lot of people say that. These homes are going to be paying over $20,000 per home in impact fees. That's $3.2 million. They have impact fees for public safety, for jails. There's 3 of them for law enforcement. Local parks, regional parks, library, schools, almost 9,000. Mobility fees, over 8,000. So you got $23,000 worth of impact fees paid per home. And then, when they get to move in, they get to pay property taxes on $362,000. So, obviously, I'm in support of the development. I don't support every single development. There was another one that came out here that I did not like it, and I did not support it. I do think this is a good development. You got a gazillion homes going in and out there already. And I'm going to use the phrase that somebody else used out here. 160 homes are not going to make any difference to anyone. So, anyway, I'll close with that. I'm done. I'll close with that.
Any other comments? Discussion? Commissioner Bray?
I'll jump in, and I'll just touch on just a couple of things. I'm not going to be as long-winded as my fellow commissioners, but I'm a big fan of property owners' rights. And certainly the existing property owners and the neighbors have rights. The landowner who owns the property has rights, and the future landowner will eventually have rights if they buy the property. And so, that's part of what makes America America. Folks being able to use their property as long as they're not affecting their neighbors. With that caveat, people ought to be able to use their property as they see fit, within the guidelines of the law. Let me clarify that. So, I want to just focus for a second on the Outer Beltway. That is a $2 billion+ investment that the state of Florida made in Clay County. We didn't pay for that. We paid for a portion of it, but the entire state paid for that. And with that improvement, it is incumbent on this body and, well, the BCC to encourage growth around the Outer Beltway. That the state made the investment, and I believe it's our job to make sure that we have positive, healthy growth around that, because it's a major highway that allows access to arterial roads and whatnot around our community. And so this falls within that. The other piece is that this is in the urban service area. And the urban service area is designated for water and sewer infrastructure and improvements. Now, this parcel may not have it today, but it's designated to have it because it falls within that boundary. And so that, in my mind, means that it conforms with development, with the opportunity, whether it's 1 to 5 acres or whether it's 7 to an acre, that depends on the development, but it's in the urban service area, and therefore there's support for it, infrastructure. And I'm going to agree with Commissioner Garrison as far as the transition. I think this is an appropriate transition between what we already have down 315, where we've got Mag West, we've got 40, 50, 60-foot lots, but 40, 50 lots, and this is all 60s. And so I did want to take a second and just acknowledge the developer. Because too often do we see developers come in here and they're trying to cram stuff down our throats, down the county's throats, and they don't listen. And this developer listened to what was said the first time this came, went back, it's been over a year, I believe, since we've heard this the first time. Reduced the count, listened to the community, had an open house. That's not something that we see very often with developers. So from that standpoint, I just want to acknowledge, thank you for doing that, for trying to incorporate the community's concerns into your development. I'm going to support this. I think this is a good transition.
Any other comments? Okay,
I've got,
go ahead.
okay, Pete. First of all, I want to echo my fellow commissioners by saying thank you for being out here. And also to, again, echo the comment that this is an advisory body only. So as spirited as your comments were on both sides tonight, I would encourage you to go to the Board of Commissioners meeting and echo those same comments, because the elected officials are the ones that are going to make the decisions as they should, all right? Now, having said that, I think, first of all, you've done a great job in listening to people and putting a project together. My only feeling is that the timing is not right for this. The location may or may not be correct at this point. I did hear some things that I was concerned about tonight, and yes, traffic is one, and that's not our purview, but it is a concern. The gentleman that brought up the issue about the dump, the old dump being nearby, I would ask a question for the group, and I don't know the answer. What are the ramifications of having that dump next to the property? Hold on, sir.
Sure, I'm here.
So the fact that the Citizen Advisory Committee voted it 8-0 because they were reflecting the concerns, I appreciate that. At this point, because of what I said, I'm just going to keep it short and say I would find it difficult to support it as is today. I think it's a good project. I think the timing is poor, and the location at this point is in question. Thank you.
Okay, let me throw my hat in the ring too. I'll be as brief as I can. When I moved here over 40 years ago, I moved into an area called Fleming Island. And when we moved there, there were 2,000 people living on Fleming Island. Today, we have over 35,000 people living on Fleming Island. And just some words of encouragement, there is life after development. And I agree with both Commissioner Garrison and Commissioner Buckhaber. I don't know that there is a quantifiable transition, but you still are your own property owner where you are. You still have your property rights and everything else. Development is going to happen. Okay, if they don't develop this with 160 homes, is the density too high? Maybe so. I would like to see something less than that, because it appears to be a little bit too many people in a box. But what's the alternative? That's a prime corner between 315 and Highway 16. What would be the next guy coming along here want to do with that piece of property? Major commercial development, especially with what's going on across the street from it. You talk about traffic problems. You ain't seen nothing yet. So is it timed right? Based on what Mr. Smith told me, it sounds to me like they've got a handle on it. Infrastructure doesn't come first. Infrastructure always follows development. Basic reason is money. It costs, I forget how many millions of dollars just to build 1 mile of road. And that's pretty expensive. So we can't afford to be building roads that go out to no place unless there's somebody there to help pay for it. And that's where the impact fees and that sort of come in. I don't know that I'm in favor of this. I think it's probably a fair expectation of what that property should be. On the other side of the road, you're going to have higher densities and more people. On this side of the road, you still have your little piece of heaven left. Granted, you're going to have neighbors of 160 next to you, but if the infrastructure comes along, it might be a good thing. I mean, I suffered through it for 30-some odd years, and I'm still there, and I'm still got my little piece of heaven left. And you'll carry me out of there boots on and heels first. So I think I'll support this project, because I think it's adequate for what's going to go on there. I would like to see less density, but we'll just leave it at that. Okay, anybody else got anything else to say? We need 2 votes on this, one on the comp plan and one on the zoning.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval for this development,
Is this on
for the comp plan amendment.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, now we have the zoning. You need a motion on the zoning?
You need the count. Need the count.
I'm sorry?
Just because it was over, what the vote was? How many yeses?
Oh, we had 2 nays, 3 nays.
Joe was a nay.
Who was?
Joe.
Joe's nay. Oh, pardon me. 3 nays and the rest ayes.
4-3.
Actually, it's 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And then I'll follow that. I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the zoning change.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, same count. Gentlemen, I appreciate you all being here. This is not easy, and but thank you all for coming. This will go to the board when?
December 9th.
This will go
December 9th. Yes.
December 9th or 10th? Okay, December 9th.
He's gotta go. He needs to leave, we're not done.
Okay, we're closing down the agenda. I still have one open comments period to go. And we'll give a few minutes for the audience to clear.
Yo. Thank you.
Good night.
Oh, I don't know. I think I could probably. All right, let's open the public hearing, the last public hearing. Does anybody, I don't have any cards for it. Does anybody wish to talk to us about anything that pertains to the Planning Commission? Speak now or ever hold your peace. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Anything else that we want to talk about?